On today's Friday evening Poker Live podcast, we're going to be talking with Andrew Lichtenberger, aka LuckyChewy, about his recent second place in the $50,000 World Series poker event for near $1 million, as well as one of the most controversial topics being talked about in the poker world right now. And that is, was it an angle or was it not an angle with which Sam Salvarel did at the World Series Poker Final Table? We'll also be having on Sam Salvarel tomorrow on my podcast at 6 p.m. Eastern time to talk more about it. And there's a video on my YouTube channel I uploaded earlier today that dives more into the situation. And that's it, guys. What's going on, everybody out there? Join your one, aka Chicago Joey. Joining me today on the podcast is one of my favorite people in the world to talk to. This is a man who is full of wisdom, full of zen, full of experience, full of life, full of love, full of hope, full of soul, full of energy, full of a lot of really, really damn great things, man. He's a guy that doesn't really play too many live tournaments recently, but when he does, he just almost wins the damn thing. So a couple second places, a third place. He's got some big scores, near $2 million in cashes since December. Not too shabby at all for playing only 8 tournaments at all. We got my buddy LuckyChewy, Andrew Lichtenberger in the chat. What's going on, Andrew? Welcome to officially the podcast.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's good to be here. What an intro. Yeah, always a pleasure. Hello, good people of YouTube. I'm happy to be here to, maybe share some wisdom. We'll see.
I mean, first of all, of course, you're going to be sharing some wisdom. But so I had Andrew on the podcast before, and back when I had him on before, he was looking a little different. He looked more like Jesus Christ's cousin, Johnny Christ. He was looking... he was looking like a little Johnny Christ himself. But since then, I've got a chance to spend some time with Andrew outside the podcast world, out in the real world streets, a little bit of the hiking streets. He actually took me to my first vegan restaurant in my entire life. And I got to say, the verdict was half and half. Some good. Chicken and waffles good. Nachos, maybe not the best, but it is what it is. So I hopped in there as well, too. So I'm really excited to have Andrew back on here. Get a little bit of positive vibes going on, if you might say, in the podcast streets today.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was cool that you were open-minded enough to check it out. I'm always unsure because we didn't really know each other that well, but food is food. It's that place is okay. It's not amazing by any means.
Bang bang. Or is that not a good one? I thought that was a vegan place. What was that place called here in Vegas?
The Modern Vegan.
The Modern Vegan.
It's okay. I don't rate it that highly.
Okay. We don't recommend it.
That stuff, and I don't know.
Andrew, so Andrew also a longtime poker player, high stakes cash games, high stakes tournament player, regular tournament player. The man plays it all. But I got to get into the main topic here that people want to discuss, Andrew, because you were obviously at the final table of the World Series Poker $50,000 event. 4 people left. First place is $1.4 million.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Salvarel makes a min raise to 400. He has 25 big blinds, makes it 400,000. Yurosov, the Russian, who I believe is actually from Latvia, he shoves all in for 25 big blinds, ace 10 of diamonds. You fold, gets back to Ben Heath, who has them both covered about 50 big blinds, and he goes into the tank. And by the end of the tank, I mean he tanks for 30 seconds until he throws in the time chip, at which point he throws in the time chip. He slides it in there. Looks like a fold to Sam Salvarel. Sam Salvarel mucks out of turn in a spot that very beneficial if Yurosov is eliminated in that situation. Obviously, Poker Internet, Ike Stirring, Justin Bonomo, Dan Smith, a few others out there, they voice their opinions on the situation and say this seems to be a clear angle. This was obviously out of line. This was done intentional. The poker world has chimed in. Pretty split down the middle, to be honest with you, 50-50 on both sides here. You were at the table in the moment that it happened. You're the one of the people that stood up and said, it's understandable why you thought that. And then after a couple minutes, the floor man came over when the hand was over. You guys briefly explained what happened. No penalty was issued. So let's talk about that from your perspective. And in the moment, did that seem out of line to you? Because as most people have pointed out, this is an incredible spot to potentially do something like this with the pay jumps, what they are, and with ice implications are what they are.
Yeah, well, I mean, intentions aside, it's clearly out of line. Sam said himself that he thought he should have been given a penalty. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's probably the right ruling. I don't really know poker tournament rules perhaps as well as I should, but it's just not really my main focus. But yeah, I mean, stand by what I said at the time. Like, I just don't think that Sam would do that. Like, I don't know, say on a scale of 1 to 10, if my closest friends are a 10 and people I've never met before are a 0, I probably know Sam somewhere in between 3 and 4. My experiences playing poker with him are that he's reasonably trolly and fun to have around. He does have some antics, but I don't know. I mean, I think like to do something like that, you have to be pretty damn heartless and kind of a low life. And I just don't think Sam would do that. Obviously, others have different experiences with him,
Right.
and they have a different perspective on what he's capable of or what his intentions might be. And I guess that's really just where the crux of the argument lies, is like, you know, if you've been around him when he's done a bunch of shenanigans, then yeah, you're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't really have that experience with him. And also, yeah, being there, it does change things. But yeah, no, I mean, I just think it, you know, he kind of got put in a situation where, yeah, maybe he's a little sleepy. Is just like a bit out of it. Looks like the guy folded. He mucks his cards and the world explodes.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit more too. So in terms of the world exploding, I don't know if this would have been a big of a deal until Ike Hollywood Haxton put up on Twitter, and he was obviously very, 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 very upset about it and very adamant that it was an angle. And I've talked with Sam a little bit. Sam said him and Ike do have a pretty extensive history together. Clearly, it's not a positive history that the two have together.
Yeah.
As Ike's pointed up on Twitter, and as Justin has pointed out on Twitter as well too, that Sam, in their opinion, I don't know this from my own experience. I don't have experience with Sam. I've only played with him briefly. I've talked with him before. As you said, sarcastic guy, seems like a guy, he's playing poker every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, playing in some of the highest stakes games. So obviously he has a lot of experience playing. These guys also have a lot of experience playing with him, and they must be basing this off of instances. I'm yet to really see some specific examples of a moment in time where maybe something like this happened. I think they mentioned that maybe this is according to them, that there's been some where he folds out of turn or he picks up cards at the muck or other various things like that. But I'm yet to see these concrete examples from multiple different sources. And I'm led to believe that if this is a guy that's been playing the highest stakes poker in Las Vegas for many years now, and he was the kind of guy that would do this on the live stream, we'd have some examples of it out there. Because I don't think this is like, okay, this is the first example. Like no one's chimed in and said, oh yeah, this is exactly what happened in this moment in this spot, and this is what took place. So I'm more willing to give the benefit of the doubt. But as people have also said on Twitter about the whole acting job afterwards and the shocked and surprised reaction that he had in such the manner that he did within 1 second of actually folding his hand. So I think that's where their argument that people out there seem to have, is that they're convinced that that reaction is a false reaction.
Yeah, and I can understand that, but right after he did it, I stood up and I was like, oh, like, you know, this is wrong. Like, you know, trying to alert him of what happened. So it's pretty clear that he heard me. And then, you know, that doesn't really get picked up in the stream that well in the video after the fact. But I don't know. I mean, I think that was kind of what, in some respects, alerted him to the fact that, yeah, he made a massive mistake.
So my kind of thing I was thinking about is that we have the discussion going on here and we have the debate going on, but what are our takeaways and what can be learned from this situation? Because so are we looking to potentially prevent this from happening in the future? Or are we just looking to have the discussion and then label Sam an angler or not an angler? Like what's the overall sort of goal that a discussion like this potentially can have for the poker world?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. I think that's kind of, I don't know, something that can be extrapolated to a lot of controversies. There should be some sort of goal in mind when there's, you know, an open forum like Twitter that allows for discussion to be had amongst multiple parties, and at least like hear each side out. And I guess Sam's not really on Twitter, but you know, he'll come on here tomorrow and be able to voice his opinion. But yeah, it's definitely not really solving anything when there's just two sides that are kind of diametrically opposed and they're just yelling at each other. And I don't know, I mean, I understand why, like they're both passionate about their side, but it just doesn't really seem like there's any long-term solution that's gained from that. And I guess maybe this is more of like a personal philosophy, but I just think like the answer is always going to be compassion, you know, whether he did it intentionally or unintentionally, Like if it was unintentional, then yeah, he's being wrongfully accused, and of course we should be compassionate for him. And if he did it intentionally, then that's a terrible thing. And like, what kind of terrible person would do something like that? Well, obviously terrible things happen to them to make them a terrible person. You know, it's my opinion that people are just inherently good natured. So I just think like generally being more gentle in situations where there's controversy is often going to allow there to be a longer lasting benefit or some kind of solution derived from it. But yeah, maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of people who do share that approach as well too. And I think I'm evolving to become more like that as well, especially once I see what the controversy can do to people and the way it can make them feel. And no matter how heartless or non-heartless you might think somebody is, anytime something like this takes place, this has an impact on that person, and it's usually not for the positive. So in a situation like this, when you have a guy like Sam who isn't, he's not vocal, he's not very public about things, he's not looking to go out there and really fight on Twitter and try to defend himself against accusations that he believes are being made against him that he believes are false about him and about his character. It is for me, I do feel a little bit bad for him as well too, and that's why I reached out to him. And actually he reached out to me, but then I said, hey, why don't we have you on the podcast and give your side of the story, because your side of the story is not being told here. And I think the main takeaways that I kind of see from this situation, you mentioned like, what do we ban? If we did it intentionally, do we ban him from the reel? Like, he's not banned, but you know what I'm saying? Like, what ultimately, if this was an intentional thing, okay, awareness is made, and then we look out for it in the future, and then what comes from that and what we do as a poker community in general, I'm not sure. But on a player level, if you are someone who does play with someone like that, now you have more, you're going to be on your toes more the next time you play with them. That's the big takeaway if you're a player with the kind of person that might be like this. Like Men the Master, I would be thinking I'm getting nailed on a constant basis in some type of way if I was playing with him. So I'm going to be on high alert if I'm ever with him. So, and also maybe we can go to the idea of the time extension chip system as well too, because I pointed this out on Twitter and a few others did, is that it's a very angle shooting prone system to me, especially against weaker players who may mistake you throwing in a time chip for a call or for a fold or for a variety of other potential outcomes if you just aren't used to those things being in place. And I imagine they're only going to be a more prevalent part of the poker world in the upcoming years because the time clock is catching on.
Yeah, it's true. I guess it's kind of a easy thing to overlook in the beginning when you're just trying to figure out a solution to mitigate all the tanking that happens. I've long heard of an idea that maybe can be implemented. It's somewhat of a hurdle to get the infrastructure in place. Although in the beginning of this tournament, they did have these little boxes in each seat that had digital clock on it. And there was like kind of a master control that the dealer had. And when it was on you, they'd press the button. So you could see the clock right there next to you. But the solution, I think, to do away with time chips would be having like a chess clock, where at the beginning of the tournament, you get X amount of time. And every decision that you decide to spend time on, your time goes down. Now, I guess you could run into situations where someone has like 3 big blinds left and they decide to think for like 30 minutes or something. I'm sure there's always going to be loopholes where people can exploit, but I think like long term, that is a good solution, and it could at least be implemented and worked with over time. But yeah, I'm not prepared to say I know what the answer is when it comes to time chips and time cards and whatnot. But I mean, to be honest, until this happened, I didn't really see too much of an issue with it. But now it becomes quite evident that, it obviously opens the door for some shenanigans.
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe we have a ball, we just fucking throw it at the dealer.
A Velcro ball, and the dealer has a Velcro vest.
I was thinking about it. You just have a ball, you just boom, throw it. It's like a squishy ball, and you just toss it at the dealer. It sticks on his chest, and that's how you know the time in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure dealers would love it, and there you go.
Yeah, what I was thinking is that they collect the time chips sometimes during the hand, and then you throw your time chip in after, and at when time is down there, the dealer says time, and after you make your action, then the time chips must be collected by the dealer after the fact. And then if for some reason you took 3 time chips, you only have 2 time chips, your hand's dead. That's it. You got to pay more attention. Seems like that system might be better. And then I believe Scott Seaver and then Sergio on Twitter did say that actually is the system and how it works, but not all dealers or players are educated on how that works too. So then now we have an education problem, and that players need to be told exactly how this works and to maybe avoid situations like this. And I think this is kind of one of those things where we try to jump out ahead of it while it's still in the infant stages of things, because once a system is adopted that has shown to work, it's going to be universally adopted at some point in time. So once someone sets up a good system, that's a system that I think is going to be in place around the entire world. So we're at that stage right now to make that impact on things. And, at least we can try to do, at least we can try to have a discussion about it as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely agree. I think kind of the challenge is that nobody really knows what the right solution is. But yeah, having a little bit more rigidity with respect to what sort of procedure is standard practice when it comes to the time chips would be beneficial. Because like you said, some dealers will wait till after the hand, because you're meant to have the time chips where they're visible to the dealer. So they know, like, okay, if he's thinking I'm not going to bother him to get the chip mid-hand, but I need to know that he doesn't go over the clock and make a decision where his hand should have been dead. But yeah, it's not as enforced as other rules could be. Like, it's certainly not as enforced as, okay, you're the big blind, put in your big blind.
Exactly. So, right. Yeah. You're the big blind ante, put in 2 big blinds.
Exactly.
I guess like in a perfect world, maybe a perfect, wouldn't say perfect system, but a system ideally would be where you have a clock, each seat has this individual clock sort of thing like that, and it lets you know how much time you have and lets you know how much time extension you have, and it beeps when you're out of time extensions, and it lets you know, okay, this is it, and that does that for you, and there's no need to say put in anything or collect anything from the dealer standpoint. That would seem like the system that would work the best, but obviously it's hard to build tables and build a system like that.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying at the beginning of the tournament on the outer tables. They actually had that in place. There was a clock by each seat. It didn't say how many extensions you had. That was still done manually. It was the same extensions we used at the final table. But it was a step in the right direction. I think there was a buzzer. I'm not certain about that. I could be wrong. Maybe it was only on some tables and not on others.
Can you imagine the buzzer just goes, there's a table full of 100 tables and the buzzers are just going off all around the room? God, that would be tilting, wouldn't it?
Yes. Okay. See, that's why it's good to talk things out. That obviously would not be a good solution. There has to be maybe it blinks or it lights up a different color to get your attention when it hits 10 seconds, 5 seconds, something. I'm not sure. These are good things to discuss, though. Like, ultimately, it's going to be the blending of minds and ideas that come up with some kind of solution that works.
I agree. Maybe we can take one of the swords you have in the background there, and we have like a sword keeper by the table, and when the time's done, he just fucking slashes you with a sword. What do you think about that? That'd be a crazy. Listen, I would never go over my time clock if you had a guy, like, let's say we had a guy just standing by the table with that sword in his hand, just chopped your head off. You went over your time. I mean, that.
Yeah, I think we're going to run into field sizes going down, though, and that might not be good for poker.
That's true. That might be more devastating than the whole entire letting the bad regs play with high markup to be able to play the tournament. So.
Yeah, we got to pick and choose our battles here.
You're right. We need to really set priorities on our focuses right here. Maybe we leave the swordsmen off to the we leave the swordsmen to the home games in Russia. By the way, just Yurosov seemed like he was putting up the hit on Sam. He stormed away from the table. He kind of like kicked the chair a little bit and started talking in Russian. Just sounded to me like he was ordering a type of hit on Sam. So he didn't seem very happy about it.
I think it was understandable, obviously, that he was upset. But I think he also kind of understood that situationally, ace queen suited probably wasn't going to fold anyway. I don't know. I mean, he shook everyone's hand after the fact. Seemed like he was taking it reasonably well. Definitely it's understandable to be super upset, though. It's kind of an annoying situation from his perspective. But I don't know. I was thinking about this. This might be the wrong way to look at it, but it feels like if Dmitry doesn't lose all his chips in that hand, then the penalty to Sam is kind of there's like more incentive to give him the penalty. because at that point, the guy who was most negatively affected by it is still there to reap the rewards of the penalty. Yeah, I don't know. That might be the wrong way to look at it, but it's just a thought I had.
I was thinking about this as well with the floor man there. It took maybe, when I watched it back, about 5 minutes for the floor man to come over there. And was there not a floor man present during the hand, or was he? Because I know it's obviously very busy at the Rio right now, and I'm sure they're understaffed in all departments. So, but it would seem like that would be an important thing to have the floor man there during this final table. But these are also very experienced players, and maybe there's not a big of an issue for a floor man. But I thought it was notable that it did take about 5 minutes for the floor man to come over, and then he actually didn't really have any idea what took place, and he was then explained to by the table what took place, and which that's why he ruled what he did rule, I think.
I mean, you're so saying it was 5 minutes. It was after the hand that he came over, right?
Yeah, it was about a minute and a half after the hand, I believe.
Okay. I mean, there were floor personnel standing around, not near the table. They were more like in the background. So like if we're here in like the Thunderdome area, the stands are here. Over here, there's like, a bunch of cameras and stuff and computers and whatnot. There were some floor people in that general area. My guess is that they kind of hang out there, maybe try to like do two things at once type of thing. Because there was another tournament going on off to the side. And they probably just, let the hand play out as it is. Because at that point, the person who, was most at fault would have been Sam, and his hand was already in the muck. So there's not like anything they can do. My guess is they just wait till the hand finishes, come over and make a ruling after the fact. But it is a little interesting. They did tell us at one point that like, okay, we're gonna like be announcing the bets and whatnot, but that didn't happen. So yeah, I don't know. I prefer it that way. It's more low key. It's more like a normal quote unquote poker game that you're used to. When they're like standing there announcing, it just goes a bit slower. It's a little bit annoying. I guess it's good for the viewers, but with the Poker Go streams, how seamless everything is, and the announcing is done really well by Ali and whoever else is around. I feel like that's more than enough information with the graphics and such for the viewer. Although I guess I'm ignoring the live viewers. Like our boy Dylan came by and he said it was like unbearable to watch because they just had so little information when you're sitting in the stands that you don't even know who the action's on. You don't know what the bet size is, whatnot. So
I got to be honest with you, buddy. I have not spent a ton of time in the stands railing a live tournament because I don't know what's happening. And when you can watch it on the live stream, it makes a lot more sense to watch it on the live stream. But yeah, I know in the past that did help the viewer experience for people that are in the stands. And it did look like, I mean, listen, it's a $50,000 event. There's $1 million up top with plenty of notable players. I feel like they should maybe treat this tournament a little bit more important. And now we can debate that. Should different tournaments be treated more special than others? And my answer is obviously yes. If you, as the floor, as the business, are going to treat your event a certain type of way, other people will then treat your event a certain type of way too. So if you just say, whatever, who gives a fuck? We're not going to put someone there. Well, then maybe some more people are like, well, they don't care. Why do I care about the thing like that? So I feel like in a situation like this, when, this is a more of a high roller event, catering to the experienced players and the notable players, maybe we treat it a little bit special.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I have no problem with that, and that's, I guess, their choice. They decided not to. I don't think anyone at the table would have fought their decision. It's just kind of whatever.
Yeah, someone in the chat here said, Wixie man said, am I the only one that thinks it's possible that it wasn't? And this is what I love. I love this. It's the conspiracy theory. It was just an angle potentially by Ben Heath. He could have been trying to get information from Sam, knowing that sliding a chime chip in like that might make Sam act. So if you are in this situation and you're Ben or any player and you slide in your time chip in a way that is trying to induce information from your opponent, is that out of line or not out of line? Because I feel like that's a live player thing that people do. They do some things. They dance around with their chips. They maybe act like they're going to fold and try to get a reaction from their opponents. I thought maybe this was how live players operate, and this is the way they try to get reads. So is that something do people consider that out of line or not?
I mean, so there was a thing on Poker After Dark last year with Jackie and Farah. I don't know if you remember this.
I remember that.
Pump fake folded. People frowned upon that. I think there's a a lot of shades of gray when it comes to stuff like this. And, it was the general consensus. And I felt as well that was kind of past the line of what's acceptable. But I think it's hard to really say. I mean, in this particular case, just sliding the time chip forward to get information, I don't think that's really what his main incentive was. I think he just wanted more time to think about it. And furthermore, like, I think Ben's just like one of the sweetest guys in the world. There's just no way he would have been like, devise some crazy plan where like, if I push the chip forward, like Sam might fold. But yeah, maybe he pushes the chip forward and he like gets a reaction from one of the two. Possibly, maybe that was like, a sub thought to his main decision of, whether or not he's going to call the all in.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I mean, I don't know. He looked annoyed. He slid the time chip in. He knew he was going to call. He didn't want to call. He's just tanking down a little bit, and it didn't seem like anything that was super out of the ordinary to me, outside of what a normal player might go ahead and do in the situation. Of course, he's going to try to get information from the opponents while he's in the hand, and he's going to try to pick up whatever he can, which seems like a very normal thing to be able to do. So
yeah. Your opponents is certainly an acceptable thing to do at the poker table.
Right. So to me, I'm like, well, they're like already like he slides the time chip and then looks at him. I go, well, yeah, no shit. What else is he gonna fucking do? What do you want him to do? You want him to slide and then like look at you? Why is he gonna look at you? Look back at the people. Of course you're gonna. He's angry. He slides the chips and he looks at him. It makes sense to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Also, like it's worth mentioning that. It's the fourth day of a pretty intense high stakes tournament. You're on the shot clock since the first hand. And Ben had been, I believe, in Montreal before this. So like he flew in, he'd been playing poker for a week or more. I'm not really sure. Then he plays this. And I think he said he only slept for like 2.5 hours before the night of the final table. Before the night before the final table. So, people are performing the best that they can. It's not like they're as fresh as they're ever going to be. So yeah, like some weird, goofy things are going to happen when people are overworked and underslept. So like it's really easy to like try to read into every like micro body movement and so on. But sometimes it's just like, yeah, I mean, the guy was a little bit sleepy. He did a goofy thing. Not to say that this is justification for what Sam did, but you can also understand how when you're exhausted, you do things that are not things you would do when you're, well slept and refreshed.
Mm-hmm. Like last night, I was tired. I was not refreshed. I played poker online, and then I just went on the most epic tilt of all time for a little bit there. It brought back shades of 2008, me losing 50 buy-ins at the 50-cent full ring tables on Poker Stars.
That's brutal, man.
Brought back. Let's wrap up on that topic before we move on to some other topics that I would greatly prefer talking about, because
sure.
I enjoy the discussion from a educational, informative standpoint, and potentially trying to better our stance on this issue with the time chips, and maybe better a stance as a community on the overall situation that took place with someone folding out of turn, and then trying to increase awareness to players of all skill levels out there that, hey, don't fold out a fucking turn, okay? But at the same time, I know when I play cash, I fold out a turn sometimes on purpose.
In cash, it's totally different.
Right. And that's where this is. And this is where my disconnect, because like I have to defer to other people who play tournaments. I don't understand. Like, I've never been in this spot in my entire life. I've been in poker 12 years, never in my life been in a spot like this. So theoretically, I can approach it a certain way, but I don't really know exactly the implications, or I don't know what I would do. I don't know what's a natural look there. I don't, there's things I just have never been in before, so I can't understand that well. Whereas someone like yourself, who's played infinitely more tournament poker than I have and infinitely more live poker than I am, you have a much better understanding. So I defer to somebody like your viewpoint and your judgment, and even Ike Haxton and Justin Monimo. I defer to these guys and their opinions on the situation, but I also understand their opinions are very bias heavy in terms of their own experience with Sam. And, you just try to weigh all sides of the opinions to try to form a better opinion for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like, how else are they supposed to judge the situation other than their experience with Sam?
Right.
If you have a certain experience with someone, naturally it's going to alter the way that you see it.
No doubt about it. Yeah. I mean, if I have an experience with a fellow content creator that's not not positive, and then other people only know him from someone they're learned from, well, they're gonna have a better different stance that I'm gonna have than that person. Kind of like that. So it's just like a normal thing. So overall, how's the second place feel?
It feels really good, man. It's a pretty sweet way to start the summer.
Yeah,
I actually wasn't even going to play the tournament because I haven't really been playing high stakes tournaments lately. And Dan Smith was like, "Hey, I'll buy a piece." You know, I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess I'll sell the rest." And then there I went.
I love how that works. What were you guys doing when Dan said he'd buy a piece? Were you?
He just texted me. Yeah, it was just like, "Hey, did you sell your action yet?" I was just like, "No, I didn't."
Good idea.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's so funny how that works out. I mean, I think that's the point. Maybe a little bit both of us are in our careers now, where it's like, you're gonna play, and you're like, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll play. Why not? It's not, it's not to that point where it was years ago, where it was like, are you gonna play? Like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna play. I'm playing every day this week, sort of thing like that. Now it's more of a less of our priority to have to play every kind of situation like that, but at the same time, being very open to potentially playing as well too.
Yeah, well, I think also in this particular case, it's just because it's such a high buy-in and because it's such elite competition. And not having played a lot of the higher stakes, shorthanded, shot clock, high roller stuff, it's easy to get in your own head and think that like you've fallen more behind than you have. But I still study quite a bit and talk a reasonable amount of poker with a variety of different people. Not maybe as consistently as I once did, but yeah, those sorts of things can contribute to lack of desire to fire in these big events. But then once I started playing, I was like, wow, I'm really grateful I did this because it's just really fun. Like even before I ran up a stack, it's just that environment is very unique to high stakes live tournament poker. And until you kind of like sit there and experience it, you don't really know exactly what it's like, but it's special. And yeah, I'm really grateful that I did play, obviously.
You mentioned one thing that I recently forgot about, and then I was talking with our mutual friend, Dr. GTO, aka Dylan Weissman, who's going to be on the podcast again here very soon. I've done a podcast with him in the past, commentating with him in the past. One of my favorite people out there right now in the entire world to talk with. And he was over at my house the other day. I cooked him some dinner because now I'm a professional chef. And by professional chef, I mean I'm an amateur chef who can cook 3 meals quite well. I'm actually go over dinner, by the way, too. I got to cook you up a little something over here. Let you try the food. But I had Dylan over, and we got to talking about Pop in Omaha, and I hadn't really had a poker discussion about PLO in fucking feels like months now, Andrew. And I got so fired up that I just started playing poker after that. Now I've been crushing. So, and I forgot that having these discussions with people who also love poker and are passionate about poker is a great way for you to re-engage yourself in terms of desire to play, in terms of being motivated, and in terms of just learning. And even I think from the conversation we had, which maybe was about 35 minutes on PLO specifically, I was just so amped up, ready to go play. I like instantly came inside. I loaded up a session, played some live. Like I didn't play barely at all the past couple months. I've been focused more on the business and the content, but really having those people around you to be able to talk with and just feed off of their passion for poker and their knowledge of the game. For hopefully they are good, but even having those people around, I think, is so important for poker and probably for other areas of life too.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think it's kind of important to remember what got you to where you are. Like, I mean, I don't know how it was for you, but for me, I never would have excelled, to the point that I have in poker without having those strategic discussions with friends over the course of, many years. And I guess I'm in a unique place in poker because I'm kind of a friendly guy and I don't really have enemies, that I get to talk poker with a very wide range of people. And I'm pretty respectful. Like I don't, obviously share some people's ideas with others, but it's just cool to like be exposed to different perspectives. And it's not even like I'm gaining so much strategically. It's more just interesting to see how different people approach different situations. And I guess like, to speak to your experience with Dr. GTO recently, it's just cool to like get reinvigorated when, you see that someone's looking at situations either similarly or differently to you, and just inspires you to get back in there and start firing again. And that's healthy, I think.
Yeah. The good doctor trying to become the top winner at PLO cash game in Las Vegas for the summertime right now. So we'll see if the doctor is going to be able to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. It's working pretty hard, it looks like.
Could be. We'll see. I don't know, man. That's not a guy I want to see. Dylan said that's the worst nickname anyone can ever have is Dr. GTO. I said, yeah, probably. he looks like a Dr. GTO too, doesn't he? If you're gonna look at him, you're like, yeah, it looks like a Dr. GTO to me. This is exactly what I would imagine a Dr. GTO would look like too.
I would respectfully disagree. I don't think it looks like a doctor.
Yes, he does. Come on, with those khaki pants and the solid color sweaters. You don't think that's what a doctor would wear?
Ah, dude, doctors wear like lab coats and shit.
More of a scientist, I think. I don't know. What do doctors wear outside of the house? I actually don't know what doctors wear. Do we know doctors who leave the house?
My girlfriend's an Oriental medical doctor, but that's not quite a real doctor. But I think they just wear regular clothes, right? I mean, when they're not at work, they're just regular people. They don't want people to know they're a doctor if they just go to grab food somewhere, probably.
I hope not. I mean, maybe they do. I don't know.
Maybe.
Are you planning to have a big summer now? I mean, when you start off the summer, it's always good to start the summer off with a big score and on an upswing too. So are you planning to mix it up a little bit?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it was actually my plan going into the summer before I had this success that I was going to play a lot of events. I was just going to play, smaller mid stuff and, fire most things that were not high rollers because it's just not where my focus has been. I was actually talking to Ali Imsirovic about this at the table the other day. He's like, "Oh, how come you don't play as much, high roller stuff?" And I guess I don't have a super firm reason as to why I don't, but the basic fact is I didn't win at them for a period of time. It probably was just a reasonable downswing in terms of what you could expect, but it's pretty stressful. And I don't know, the older I get, the less kind of drive I have to fulfill that number one spot, where when I was younger, I definitely felt a lot more compelled to do that. And I feel reasonably comfortable saying that I did do that for portions of my time playing online poker. But yeah, I don't know. I just I don't need that. I guess it's I'm happy to just compete, against them and know that maybe I'm not putting in as much work, but I'm not, I'm not at such an overwhelming disadvantage that I can't compete, I suppose.
So when you think about this, and when you know that you can sell action for anything, I think we can agree on that. For I don't know, almost any tournament, I'm sure if you really wanted to play, you could sell action.
I guess. So, I mean, it's not up to me.
Right. So, but when you're contemplating this, well, how do you decide? Well, I'm not going to play, even though you can sell for these and you can play these if you so chose to.
Well, I think for me personally, unless I really feel ready to do it, then it's just not going to work out. Take the 10K heads up the other day, for example. That's a tournament that I'm always excited to play. I played a lot of heads up. I really enjoy it. But I was just spent, physically, mentally. I just wasn't ready to jump in there. And, this is kind of an extreme example of feeling that exhaustion. But sometimes, you'll just hear, oh, there's this tournament coming up. And if your initial reaction is just nah, I just don't want to play that. Mm-hmm. I think it's weird to say. I don't think any backer would necessarily think that you were doing them a disservice if you said I just didn't really feel it. But for me personally, if I don't really feel that drive and that motivation to get in there and mix it up and contend, then I don't know. I just feel if I can't give it my all, there's really no point. I'd rather just rest and come back fresh.
Yeah, it seems like a perspective that a lot of poker players don't necessarily always have.
Yeah, no, I think this is something that a lot of my peers probably don't as much feel, but I'm quite adamant about it. If I don't feel my best, I just feel I can't perform my best. To me, it seems fairly straightforward. And maybe other people are just able to turn it on more easily. Right. Everyone's different, obviously. And maybe I'm overstating in my mind how diminished my abilities are if I don't feel super sharp. Maybe I'm not playing my A game, but I'm playing my B+ or B game, and it's only affecting my win rate minimally. But I don't know, something I really like about poker is when you're super zoned in and you're able to just observe all the subtleties, whether movements your opponents are making, but more so just strategic nuances. And I feel if you miss out on enough of those, to me, it kind of takes the joy of playing poker away a little bit, and like the creative element that's there is lost, and it becomes almost more mundane and monotonous. I don't really enjoy that as much. I like to really be present and plugged in, and if I can't do that, I'd rather just I'd rather just go lay in my backyard and listen to the birds chirp.
Yeah, I wonder if this has evolved for you over time, because you mentioned you used to have that drive to be number one and be one of the top players, if not the top player in the arena that you're competing in. And then as you get older and your priorities change and your goals change and your level of success and what you deem success changes, the way that you think about things like this, I think have to evolve as well too, where maybe when you're younger, the confidence is there and the ability to turn it on is there. And now ability to turn it on might still be there, but it's that maybe that confidence isn't there anymore because you've started to spread yourself out a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's, at least in some ways accurate. But I will say that even when I was very much contending to be, the strongest player in whatever game I was playing years ago, there were certainly times where I shouldn't have played because I was underslept or because I, played too much the last few days or few weeks, and I just needed to give myself a break. And the humbling would often come in, maybe not 50 buy-ins in a short period of time, but enough buy-ins that it stings. And you're just like, damn, how many times am I going to have to learn this lesson before I get it? Like, sometimes it's just not a day to play poker. Sometimes, you just do something else and you come back and the game's always there. So I do think that's part of it. I wouldn't even necessarily say so much that it's my confidence that wanes, because when I'm at the table and I'm playing, I'm always going to bring it as much as I can. I don't let things that are somewhat arbitrary affect my perspective of either my opponents or myself. But I do try to be objective about where my mind is at on any given day.
Actually, let me restate that too, because I thought at first that the confidence was the word I'm looking for, but I don't think it is. I think it's more of what kind of state you can be in when you're performing at your peak. And you're very aware of what that feels like. And when you're aware that when it doesn't feel like as well too. So I think if you're somebody who has performed at a certain level with certain energy and a certain focus over a long period of time, and I just, for whatever reason, I don't have it right now. I feel like that is what happens. I know that happens to myself too, where it's like, it's not the confidence, because when I go there and sit down and play, I'm like, all right, if I play my game, I'm going to win here.
Right.
I just focus in and discipline, I'm going to win. But it's like, I know how I could be, and I'm not there. So that is what dissuades me from even getting in that game in the first place and putting myself in the action to try to get to that point too.
Yeah, I think that's well put. Like the contrast is very self-evident when you, like you said, what you're capable of and where you're at in that moment. Maybe it's just some random thing that's nagging you that you've been meaning to do and you haven't done, or it could be any number of things that's just detracting from your focus. But ultimately, if something's detracting from your focus, I'm just of the opinion that you'd rather deal with that and sort that out before you go play high stakes poker.
Yeah, I think some of the greatest advice and the advice I never took for many, many years was the idea of being self-aware when you're in this zone and then taking days off to recover, because this was my biggest leak probably of all time, was I just never took days off ever. And if I lost, I'd always play the next day, and I would compound these downswings that would turn from 2 days until it would go to a month. And I was just unaware of why it was. Like, why was I playing so bad? Well, my mindset was completely fucked.
Yeah, and it's sometimes like you're banging your head against a wall, and it's just like, wow, like I'm running so bad, I can't figure this out. But how much of it is running bad? How much of it is playing bad? It's hard to really say. This actually somewhat similar thing happened to me about 2 weeks before the series. Not for a large sum of money, but I was playing online, had a pretty rough session one night, and then for the next few days, I was like, oh, I should like sharpen up and just like continue to play before the series to like feel really ready. And I kept losing. I was like, you know what? There's about a week before the series starts. There's no reason for me to just like continue this. And, obviously I'm not going to say that like my success in this tournament is because of that. That would be absurd. But I do think that generally speaking, that approach is healthy.
Yeah, I think so too, because I've noticed, yeah, man, whenever I take these time off and I come back, I think the biggest difference I notice is that it all really starts with pre-flop discipline. And I noticed that when I running bad, as we put it, and man, I just fucking can't win.
Mhm.
It starts with the pre-flop construction. And I'm just
Yeah.
a little bit, especially at PLO cast, I'm just a little bit looser on the button, a little bit looser in my defenses, a little bit looser in all of my ranges just open up a little bit. And what happens there is that those situations post-flop tend to compound. When you're
Yeah.
going in with weaker ranges pre-flop, you're going to have weaker ranges on the flop, turn, and river. And when your discipline's lacking pre-flop, your discipline naturally is going to start lacking on the flop and on the turn too. So now you have these this compounding movements here, the compounding mistakes sort of thing like that. And that's what happens to me. And I'm getting a lot better at identifying it now. And luckily I'm able to take those breaks when I need to. And it helps that poker's not my number one priority now, because if it was, I can't say I would be as strong as able to take those breaks. And of course, when you're playing tournaments and you're playing the World Series of Poker, I feel like you get so caught up in the idea that I have to take advantage of these games while they're here.
Yeah.
And you don't give yourself that time to take a break. So that has to be tough as a tournament player during this time of year, because if you're here and you're especially if you're on Twitter and Instagram, everyone's out there stunting, they're all going deep in tournaments. You're like, well, fuck, man, I want to go deep in a tournament like everyone else is doing it. I can't go deep if I don't play. And I can see that being a real mind fuck for some people during a time of the year like this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not going to say I have all the answers. I just think that generally this idea has helped me. But I don't know. You don't have to take so much time off. Like sometimes just a day will do it. And maybe during that day off, you don't spend your time on Twitter and Instagram where you start to compare yourself to everyone. That's probably not the best way to do it, but it is a hard line to draw in the sand. And sometimes, you like, I think an important distinction to make is whether or not you're just like prone to laziness and unproductivity. Because if that's the case, then you might just be saying, oh, I don't feel my best, whatever. And you just want to like hang out and watch YouTubes all day, when really you should be grinding because the games are the best they are all year. So obviously, like most things, it has to be taken on a case-by-case basis. There's no easy way to say what people should or shouldn't do. It just all becomes very generalized and arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with what you're saying. Like the self-awareness is the most important part. And once you have that, if you can accept the way you feel, and appreciate it, then you can kind of move forward and maybe make some changes, or at least just gain a new perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something I'm thinking about a lot lately. As just I'm kind of debating if I want to hop back in the poker streets, and the idea of what would that look like in terms of my own grind, and identifying when I'm playing bad, like last night's session, and then saying, okay, how many days do I need off now? I know I shouldn't play today, but I want to play today. How are you going to make the money back if you don't play? So it's like these constant struggles I think we all have as poker players. And yeah, man. But in Vegas right now, kind of, pivoting off that topic, Vegas right now, Andrew, it is rocking. There is poker players sprawled out the entire city everywhere. Everywhere I go, I'm getting people, what up? Like it's like gone to a different level this year for things. And
Wow.
And I think it was a concentrated strategy effort, because I loaded up my content before the series this summer, which I never have done in the past. I wanted to see, because if I knew if I put up content 2 months straight before series comes, it's going to be buzzing and it's going to get a lot of views. A lot of people are going to watch it. So that way, when the series gets here, it's going to be fresh in people's minds, and then people will be more engaged with it and have more of a reaction to it. And I was curious what that would look like in terms of how people would treat me. And then kind of going around and seeing that, it's been very interesting. It's been very, very interesting. I can't say I necessarily like it that much. You'd think intuitively you would enjoy that, but it's more awkward and weird, and surprisingly, I don't enjoy it. So that's something I'm thinking about how to deal with.
I don't particularly enjoy the idea of celebrity. I certainly don't consider myself a celebrity, but the few times I have been recognized, I'll be honest that like sometimes it gives you a bit of an ego boost. It's like, oh, this person values me or values what I've done. But the thing that I don't like about celebrity in general is when people think that you're like better than them or something. And it creates this weird dynamic. And it's also just like, hey man, like, you're awesome too. Like, I don't even know you, but you're an awesome person. And, why don't you recognize that? That's a weird thing I find with, I don't know what other word to use on celebrity.
Yeah, I think that's kind of status or any sort of status, whether it's in Instagram status or it's status amongst a small group, or I think status in sort of any hierarchy. I think you can kind of call it a celebrity in a way, or you can call it just high status.
Yeah, I guess
because
you have more exposure.
yeah, when you go outside of poker, like me and you go to a tech conference in San Francisco again, and we don't know who the fuck we are. You know what I mean? So it's like we go and we change our setting a little bit. All of a sudden, we're fitting right in. It's normal. It's cool. We're talking. Like I was at a elevator conference the other day at the Luxor. My buddy Dan Fleischman puts these elevator things on where he has a panel, and it's just like more of like a networking thing. And this was a lot of entrepreneurs that were there. They were in town for a conference called Thrive Conference. And while I'm there, I'm meeting people and they're like, oh, what do you do? And they're actually energetic and lively about what they're doing. And they don't know anything about me. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. Okay. And then I was on one of the panels. It was on personal branding and e-commerce. The other guys were e-commerce salesmen. These guys sold themselves. Well, I was more of the, speaking on kind of what I spoke on, the personal branding and related content kind of stuff like that. Sure. And after I was up there and I was asked questions, and then when I talked to the audience, the reaction from the audience who knew absolutely nothing about poker, but said they were still able to learn some things that they might apply to their own situation, and just the energy and the livelihood that they had was, it really made me feel great. And I forgot kind of what that feeling was like to be around people who are actually excited to be doing what they're doing, because it seems like in poker, that is not the case anymore, as a lot of us have become 10-year veterans plus in the game, sort of thing like that.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a really fulfilling experience, just generally. But to touch on the last point, I would actually say that my passion to play poker, at least currently, is quite high. I don't know that it's the highest it's ever been. Probably when I first started playing, the first poker games I ever played, it was the highest. But I still very much appreciate playing, and I love seeing how far the game's been taken strategically. It's just fascinating. It's like, the more we learn, the more we realize we actually don't know. And that's really cool. And you've seen it obviously with the evolution of the strategy that people have employed, but I just think that's an amazing thing. And it's a real treat to be around and to be a part of.
Yeah, the strategy available right now in No Limit Hold'em is pretty mind-boggling, because I just found there's some people on YouTube making these videos with Pio now, where they just basically plug it in Pio and they explain why Pio is doing what it's doing and how close to optimal the players are playing in the hands. And just fascinating to hear, because it's not something that I've really ever heard broken down before. And I'm sure it's now a regular part of the curriculum in terms of courses and in terms of strategy websites, but I don't personally watch those No Limit Hold'em kind of videos like that. But I started studying more tournaments and started watching Doug Polk's videos, and now I'm kind of more interested in learning. And yeah, man, it's just there. It seems like a whole new world in terms of what is possible with the strategy right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Pio is obviously an amazing resource. I still think it's fascinating to explore kind of the less theoretical side of things. Like, as much as that has benefit. Well, I guess maybe I shouldn't say less theoretical side, but I think the implementation and the execution of those strategies is really what's most important. And if you're unable to correctly decide when it's going to be of greatest benefit, you'll miss out on some value. Yeah, I mean, if you had all solutions GTO memorized and you were just able to, robotically implement it, you do great at poker. But I don't know, I just personally think that wouldn't be as fulfilling for me. I'd rather look for, when exploits are appropriate and when, you can deviate efficiently from what your baseline strategy is. But yeah, it goes without saying that for further developing your baseline strategy using resources like Pio is immeasurably beneficial.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the more exploitative thoughts and ideas and how to implement this more of the GTO style and mix it in with a exploitative style, and what that might look like in terms of poker against fun players and what that looks like in terms of against regular players. And I think it's still quite fascinating to try to figure out where it lies. And I think it's a little different for PLO right now than it is for Hold'em. But
yeah,
interesting time, man. It's a lot of fun to see exactly how the game's evolving. I know some players out there don't like it as much, but I think it's only going to keep continuing down this path.
Yeah, I mean, it's like an avalanche. You can't really stop it, so you may as well just, accept that it's here.
What do you think about the onslaught of courses now, Andrew? There's a Fedor's got a course coming out. I mean, I think everyone's got a fucking course. Okay, I'm gonna need to make a course on what course you should get because everyone's got a goddamn masterclass and everyone's got a course. It's like Phil Ivey's got a course. Are you what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think it's cool. Like, I mean, I was one of the earlier video producers, maybe not like the first generation, but probably the second, when it came to recording yourself playing online and commentating either during or after the fact. And I actually recently started teaching poker again with Learn WPT, and that's been really awesome. So I would support people to make courses and just share their ideas. There's obviously going to be differences between each one, but it is interesting. There's just probably now more poker training content than ever has been before.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming, I'm imagining, for people out there because I think most people want to find the best content. And how are you going to find that? I don't even know what the best I don't even know what the good content is out there for Hold'em. So it's like if you're someone that's completely unknown and you don't know people and you don't know where to go, I imagine that most people struggle with understanding if they're on the right path or not in their own mind, because they might be taking a course, but they're unsure, is Upswing better? Is Masterclass better? Is Phil like what's better and what's not better? And I could see that really fucking with people's mental game.
Yeah.
And paralyzing them in terms of, am I studying the right thing or not studying the right thing?
Yeah, that's just it. It's like, is it right for tournaments or cash, or what are they playing? Sit and goes? Who knows? There's a lot of different things. I mean, I guess probably the best thing to do is just explore things and, talk to people who have read reviews and just try to find personalities that you vibe with, because I guess there's going to be similar ideas in most of the things. A lot of those solutions are going to be derived from PIO or PIO type resources. So I guess just figuring out who you enjoy listening to might be a decent place to start.
Yeah. When you mentioned you're doing coaching for WPT, is that only on Learn WPT, or are you doing live stuff or online stuff, or what's the context of the coaching that you're doing?
Yeah, so I make a couple videos a month, and I moderate the forums and answer things over there. But I actually did teach my first live seminar recently, and that was awesome. It was so much more fun than I thought it was going to be, because it's just great when you share ideas and people light up, and you can tell you're really getting through to them. And it was also quite challenging because there is a very apparent disparity in skill set. So you kind of have to speak to the less advanced players and also speak to the more advanced players at the same time, and make sure that you're not leaving anyone out. And I enjoy a good challenge as much as anyone, so I think I did a reasonable job.
I love coaching because I was working my buddy Landon, my master moderator. I called him an operator, the master moderator in my YouTube chat. He plays a lot of 10 cent, 20 cent PLO on global. And I told him, I go, just because he does timestamps for me and helps me out, so I go, just record a couple sessions. I'll give you coaching, and I'll sweat your sessions. And even just working with him, I learn a lot, not only about maybe how he thinks, but you can pick up parts of how a person thinks, and you can apply them to potentially your own game as a reminder that, okay, this is a really good idea, or maybe this strategy could potentially be viable in the games I'm playing, or this is how certain types of players think about things. So it gives me a better understanding into my opponent's head when I might encounter a similar type of opponent. So when I love coaching, it's so much fun. It's just, I think there's so much to learn when you're explaining your own thought process, and when you're challenged to be able to articulate why you're doing what you're doing and why you're telling someone to do what they might be doing too.
Yeah, that last part really is one of the most enjoyable aspect for me, where you have to like solidify the ideas that are in your mind and articulate them accurately. Otherwise, it's worth nothing. And sometimes you have to distill them a bit. Like I would like to say them in one way, but it's like, okay, this will be misunderstood or misinterpreted. So you kind of have to switch it around a little.
It's all trial and error. Just takes experience and time. I'm sure if you keep giving more seminars, you'll sort of learn what works and what people connect with and what they picked up on. And maybe a good strategy is you take I don't know, I don't know if the poll is the right word, or you take a exit poll from your seminar and you say, what part did you learn the most from? What part did you not understand? And then maybe you can better the process moving forward when you kind of get that feedback from people in terms of that people that were in terms of people that were attending the class.
Yeah. The feedback was great. I didn't know if people were just just really happy from the experience, because everyone kind of gets like almost high at the end of the couple days, because it's just such a fun time, like sharing ideas and whatnot. But I think for the most part, I did quite a good job. But for sure, each one you learn more and you understand more, and it's just, it's just like poker, like life, like anything. You're just like, okay, had this experience, this worked, this didn't work as well, I'm going to change that, and sort your perspective and add things and discard what doesn't work, and just constantly improve.
Chewy, I got to show you this video. You seen this? Let me pull it up real quick. I got to get your opinion on this video, and I just need to show people out there, because this is one of the most sickening fucking things I've ever seen in my life, Chewy. Okay, you seen this?
We have to watch a sickening video.
We got to watch it. There needs to be a PSA.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me pull this bad boy up real quick here.
Okay. Yeah, I did see this.
Okay, so we're gonna play this video for everyone out there. This is a man eating a salad with his hands at the Venetian tournament table. Okay, let me show you guys this. Picks up the salad, puts it in his, licks his fingers clean at the poker table. Picks up more salad. What kind of animal does this? Licks the fingers clean again. Now, can we agree that this should never happen at a poker table, Andrew, for a number of different reasons? But can we? Yeah. Are we a universally? I feel like the poker community in general should get behind this, and maybe we need to outlaw this type of behavior at the poker table, eating a salad with your fingers.
Well, I mean, it just seems so unnecessary. Like, people get on others' cases for eating wings at the table. It's like, okay, yeah, I don't agree with that behavior either, but salads just generally aren't really eaten with your hands. So it's a weird place to mix it up and just decide to discard the fork.
What are you doing, buddy? Come on. Why are you eating a salad with your fingers? It's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. First of all, obviously we can mention touching chips, and we touch a lot of dirty things throughout the day, and we don't wash our hands and eat food. And not to my knowledge, no one's died about this. So maybe the whole entire thing's overblown, but just out of respect for other people at the table. I mean, come on, it's fucking disgusting. You're eating. It's cringy, man.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not it's overblown, it's just kind of aesthetically displeasing to sit there and play with someone like that, I would imagine. But I don't know. Maybe his table mates didn't say anything. It's kind of on them, right?
Are we a fan of the guy creepily recording? I think this was a man named Jason Young. Shout out to Jason Young providing this great video over on Twitter. Are we a fan of this recording right here? If you see someone eating a salad with their hand.
I don't know that I'm a fan of it per se, but I'm not gonna like hate on the guy for doing it. It's just, he found it newsworthy and decided to put it out into the Twitter sphere. So sure, I guess.
I've noticed a lot more of these sort of creep shot like photos this summer from people, whether they're outraged with someone or they're just posting somebody like that. I've kind of noticed a few more people were posting things like that this summer. And I'm not sure if that's going to become more of the norm in poker, taking photos of people that you'd have a problem with or that you got into an issue with and then posting it on social media or not. But not sure if I'm the biggest fan of that, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I don't know that I've ever done it, so I guess I don't feel drawn towards it. But I don't know, in certain cases I could see it being valid. Like, hey, this guy was an angle shooter, or, this guy, used repulsive language and seemed hateful. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, I guess. I see how it can at times be beneficial, but also at times be somewhat detrimental to the community as a whole. It's like a bit secretive, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm open to it.
Yeah, I mean, I do find it fun from a spectator standpoint. I find it very fun. I don't know. I love videos like this. You know, somebody might say you shouldn't be recording someone in the poker room, but I think without great content like this, it would make poker slightly less exciting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's probably a lot of truth to that. Well, there was that one video with the lady who ended up on Poker After Dark when she was calling out Dan Shack, right?
Yeah, well, that turned into a celebrity, so that turned out
Yeah.
really well for her.
Yeah, so you never really know where it's going to go. I don't think she was too upset with that video being publicized. She probably didn't expect it, but and you know, maybe whoever recorded it should have asked her about it before they put it out there. But yeah.
Well, I guess we could also debate that it probably should be a bigger thing in poker, because when we look at how the mainstream world is going, everyone has cell phones and they're recording everything all the time. So maybe it's actually not a bad issue right now in poker that this doesn't happen more often, because everyone has cameras and it's pretty much ingrained to pull it up there and take a picture of something, record something, send it to your friends or send it to your group chat or do something of that nature as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, at a certain point, it's just like, what is there to record? Like, this was obviously fairly outside the scope of what I would consider to be normal behavior. You know, this guy eating a salad with his hands, but for the most part, people are just playing poker. There's not a whole lot of like crazy stuff going on.
Yeah,
So I don't know, if people take pictures of me, I don't really have a problem with it. Usually I'm just hanging out, you know, doing my thing.
what are you doing there, buddy? I'm just taking a photo of you, Chewy. I just wanted to commemorate this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure people are always taking photos of Sasha's in the chat. I'm sure Sasha gets a lot of people taking pictures of her too. So
Yeah. Is that a thing that some of your podcast guests get a lot of notoriety after turning up on the podcast and people go up, introduce themselves, and
yeah, I think that's definitely a thing. Yeah, people send messages or
that's cool.
They see him in person and take a photo or whatever. There's a lot of different things. I think I've heard that before. I don't really. I think something I always, you brought up something up to me, which is that in the past I strive to be better at following up with the guests that I have on, but I typically found myself so focused on the future instead of what took place that I struggled with that greatly. And it's something I've been thinking about trying to do better at, but I'm kind of overwhelmed right now with establishing priorities and establishing what I should focus on and what I should do. Mm-hmm. So I'm not quite sure exactly what the extent of that is. I know from Sasha it's like that way, and Barry's been on the podcast a few times, mentioned that he got more publicity from that than almost anything ever before, kind of thing like that. So, you know, it does seem to have that impact, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's awesome what you're doing because it's community building. Like, you know, by virtue of us having this conversation, people know more about me. That's kind of cool. No longer will those people who previously didn't know things about me make assumptions. They'll actually have tangible proof as to, you know, perspectives I have and outlooks that I live my life with. So, you know, in that sense, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's the main goal, I think, of the podcast for me, is to help people get that out there and tell their stories, have people learn about them, even though it's not always the most glamorous. I mean, we're in poker world, right? How fucking glamorous can people really be for the most part? Obviously, you're going to have outliers who have this really, really captivating and engaging personality that you're just like awestruck by in some type of way, or they have a certain aura, a mystique about them that you're just really drawn to. But in general, I think that when people are talking about poker, they're going to come off one way, but when they're talking about their life, it might not always be the most engaging to the general public sort of way like that. But I think that's what I try to do. And I want to give people a platform to be able to share themselves and for us to learn more about who they are as a person, whether we agree or disagree or like it or don't like it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think it's important to have something like this.
Tom said, does Chewy microdose mushrooms?
I have. It's not something I do regularly.
I actually tried it regularly for a little bit earlier. Was it earlier this year? Can't remember, but coincidentally enough, no, I can't remember what it was. I think it was last year. I actually don't remember. But yeah, I tried this where I would do a little bit of the mushrooms when I woke up, and then it was fun. But I don't know where the days went, but I enjoyed myself very much.
Maybe a little bit less of a microdose and a more of a macro dose you were consuming.
It's a fair point. It wasn't like an official dose, like sort of, hiking in the Red Rock sort of style like that. But
Yeah.
I don't know what the benefit of mushrooms are. I actually don't even know what mushrooms do. What are they, what kind of effect are they supposed to have on you? Like, do they mind expansion? But do we know the specific things that it does for you?
I believe they turn off fear centers in your brain and light up other centers, and they're meant to be beneficial for neuroplasticity, so communication between the left and right hemispheres of the brain. So it can encourage creativity, focus, just general performance. That's kind of my interest with them.
So maybe we should be taking them and playing poker.
Some people probably are.
That's a good point. Yeah, they were just
legalized. A lot of experimenting in my days with plant medicine type things, and I don't know, it's just cool. Like, I just enjoy getting different perspectives. That's my main interest with them. But I also see psychedelics as like windows of opportunity, where if you're able to learn from them and integrate them into your everyday life, that's like, to me, the sweet spot of using them. If you use them and you just continue to use them and continue to use them and continue, I feel like you're not getting as much out of them as you could. Because like when you're in your sober mind and you're integrating those lessons that you gained from them, I think that's the best, because you get the best of both worlds. Obviously, if you're on mushrooms, you're incapacitated from performing certain activities. If you're sober but you understand perspectives that they shared with you, it opens up a whole new world.
I think that's an issue I've had in the past, is that I enjoy that world so much when I go into it that I want to go into it all the time, and it doesn't give me time in the other worlds, because when I'm let's say I'm in a sober state of mind, I'm longing to be in that mind where I'm under the influence of something like that.
Yeah, it's super seductive.
Right. And when you're in the sober mind and you're not actually taking in the perspective of what you're currently experiencing, and you're just longing to be in this other state, you can't truly appreciate both sides, I feel like. And I think that's been an issue for me in the past whenever I have tried any kind of drug, which is why I probably should do drugs in moderation. It's probably, I didn't grow up. I never tried them. I never messed around with them. I barely drank. So it's all these new things for me that I'm learning in my later 20s. And it's quite fascinating, because if you love to be in this altered state of mind so much, then you must not enjoy your current state of mind that you're in, and in a sober state. And then the question is, well, then what can you do to improve the sober state that you're in, and where do you start?
I think that's a great point, and I think where you start is with your beliefs and your definitions. What beliefs do you have? How are you defining different words? How are those affecting your emotional state? Oftentimes, you can change quite drastically your emotional well-being or lack thereof with the perspective that you have on certain things. Not to say that's going to be the case for everyone always, but I do believe that's like kind of the core foundation of emotions. My personal belief is that they don't really exist in a vacuum. You have to believe something is true in order to feel a certain way about something.
Yeah, I think this is something I never knew until really the last few years, is the idea that of having a belief system, sort of. And I remember, it's funny because when I started doing the podcast, for like the first year or two, I thought about writing like a morning book to myself, where I'd wake up in the morning time, I'd write this down in the day. I'd say, okay, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is what I believe in. And as a way to consistently remind myself each day when I woke up about who I am as a person. And the reason I feel like I need to do that still is because I never thought about these things growing up. I never really thought about who I was as a person, or what I stood for, what I believed in at all. And that's why I think I have such an open mind about a lot of things, is that for the most part, my beliefs are very open to change on a majority of different things. Mm-hmm. And the things I believe in strongly, I'm very passionate about, which comes out PLO specifically, anything to do with America's Carter specifically. So you can tell when I get fired up about something. Poker in general, like I feel very passionate about poker, and I have certain beliefs about poker as well too. But a lot of other things about myself, I'm still learning right now. And a lot of other things about the world, I'm still learning right now because I was so entrenched in the poker bubble by design. And now I'm sort of coming out of that bubble and I'm saying, oh my God, I don't have a strong stance on so many different things. And maybe it's time I get a strong stance and I become more educated on all these different topics, which can be overwhelming because then you go down multiple paths on a weekly basis and you're unsure exactly where to put the majority of your energy in.
Yeah, well said. I would say I'm somewhat similar in many regards there. Like the things I'm passionate about, I'm very passionate about, and the things that I'm not, I'm just like, yeah. I mean, I don't know, unsure of, how I feel about certain things at times. I think that's kind of okay. It doesn't seem like such a bad thing to, generally speaking, be open to receive more information before you make a judgment call about something. But yeah, obviously, with the evolution of Twitter and public discourse, you see often that people are very passionate and headstrong about certain ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool to get exposure to that because it makes you think. But oftentimes I just I'll read both sides of an argument and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, both sides made valid points. I'm not really sure where my stance lies. And other times it's like, yeah, okay, I'm clearly on this side. So, yeah, I guess that's life, right? Like, your experiences will eventually lead you in one direction more so than another on a variety of different topics. But until that happens, I don't tend to think there's anything really too wrong with just like, standing in the middle.
Mm-hmm. How you feeling in life right now?
I feel really good in life. I mean, obviously, anytime you like have success, it's going to be an awesome feeling because that's what you're working towards in career. But I'm really grateful for friends, family, girlfriend. My day-to-day life just is so awesome. I mean, I can pretty much do whatever I want. I really do enjoy the summers. One, the weather is great. I love this weather. I would prefer it to be a few degrees cooler during the day and a few degrees warmer at night. But that makes it really great. And yeah, my hobbies are fulfilling and it's fun. Yeah.
What's your daily life look like?
I've lately tried to keep a slightly earlier schedule. So say I get up at like 9 or so, and I don't really have much of a routine. I used to be a bit more regimented. I definitely at some point in the morning or early afternoon will go outside in my yard, catch some sun, do some stretching, maybe some breathing exercises. Been practicing violin for the last year. I started taking lessons about a year ago.
Nice.
And yeah, that's been really cool. And I try to just do a few creative things every day. It doesn't always happen, but especially with as much poker, specifically during this time of year, I'll be playing. It's important to me to balance that with, using the other parts of my brain that aren't going to get as much expression at the table. So whether it's creative writing or drawing or what have you, I mean, music's a great way to engage that. So yeah, it's kind of what my days look like.
How much time are you spending? No phone, no input, just you, the nature, you, the birds, you, and the mountains, because I know that's something that you greatly enjoy doing.
Yeah. Whenever I'm outside, I'm not really going to bring my phone, but I'm as guilty as anyone. Like, it's super easy to just get distracted by it. It's just like, oh, yeah, okay. I'm, wasting my time, or I'm caught in this, like, loop of, my brother calls it dopamine farming. Where you want more. You want to click refresh or whatever. So I'm reasonably conscious of it. I'll be completely honest. I think I could do a better job of using my devices less, but it's not by any means like a problem in my life. I just think long term I could improve upon it.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm thinking about making a really severe life change.
Yeah. How so?
I don't know, just something that gets rid of the phone in my life.
Hmm.
And I don't know what my life could look like without the phone. And I don't know how I would communicate with people. I'm thinking about just really cutting off Twitter and Instagram and only posting something related content, like my main business, because I just think that like the way I'm using it now and the way it affects me and the information overload that occurs on all these platforms and the messages you get constantly. And that's just in general, there's so much information out there that I think it's just really taking its toll on me here. And I know it's something I'm good at and I excel at, which is bad because I'm constantly thinking about it, thinking about strategy, thinking about content, thinking about how I can deliver a message. Or, when me and you speak and we're talking and you give me an idea in my mind, one of the first things that is going to come to my mind creatively is how can I package this into something for content? How can I put this into a tweet, sort of thing like that too, if we're just out in daily conversation? And I really want to get out of that mind because it allows you to excel on those platforms and excel at those games that you're playing. But I think that I could be playing, much better games, much more rewarding games. And I think I look at Twitter, Instagram, these are the kind of, these are games.
Yeah.
They're designed by a company. They're designed by people. When you're out in the real world, Twitter don't fucking matter. Like the outrage you see on Twitter, you don't see that in person ever. It's like a completely different.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it's an alternate universe like that. And I think it's really having a negative impact on myself and my happiness. And just, I mean, we could debate the idea of happiness, but I just think that I need to restructure my life in some way. And the way that I've designed my life right now is not good.
Fair enough. Why don't you just go like a day without your phone, see how that feels, and then if it's beneficial, then you could just continue.
It's always felt great every time I do it. When I was in the Bahamas for PCA, I would just leave my phone in the room. I went exploring and I was like, this is beautiful. I loved it so much. I felt so free in a lot of different ways and not tied to. And obviously we could say, well, turn your phone off and do things like that. And, for whatever reason, that's just something I've not been able to excel at.
Well, sometimes it's not super practical. Like if you're trying to meet up with friends, you kind of need a communication device. And people say like, oh, well, it didn't used to be that way. Like, well, yeah, a lot of things have changed. Yeah, I do know what you're saying. Like those days where you kind of just flow from experience to experience, you're hanging out with these people, then you're hanging out with those, and it's like a regrouping, and everyone's just kind of like letting the wind determine where they go and what they do. Those days are awesome. And yeah, I feel you on that. I definitely feel you there.
How do you, when you mentioned earlier in the podcast that you're a very friendly person and you get along with almost everyone out there, and I think you're very respectful of anyone that tries to have a conversation with you as well too. How do you handle prioritizing relationships in your life and in terms of with current friends and current people that you enjoy spending time with, but also people that you might meet or that you might have known in the past or that you might encounter once again and find that you desire to spend more time with them or they just desire to spend more time with you? How do you structure that in your mind mentally?
Yeah, definitely a good question. I think lately I've become slightly more assertive and slightly less agreeable just because, I don't know, maybe it's a function of getting older and your preferences are more clearly defined. But how to say, I guess it's challenging. Like, I never want to offend anyone, but sometimes it's just like, yeah, my time is, more valuable to me to do X, Y, or Z instead of spend time with you. And there's you can't say that bluntly. I don't think that's particularly socially acceptable. But if that's the truth, it is what it is. And I don't know. I guess I don't have an easy answer. I just try to be true to myself, even though it might sometimes upset people, because I think kind of being yourself is the most important thing you can do in life in any circumstance.
Do you feel like you have a good understanding of who yourself is?
Sometimes, but not always. Like we were saying earlier with like, you see discussions about controversial topics. Sometimes I don't know where I stand on that. So sometimes I don't really know how I feel about things. It's not always very clear to me. When it is clear, it's super clear. I guess that's easy to say, but I'm not always 100% certain about things. Emotions are tricky to navigate. I think this is something that most people can relate to.
Yeah, I agree. I relate to that as well too. I think it's something that I'm trying to figure out, kind of go back to the idea of beliefs and just understanding who I am or what I want my life to be about. And, the construction of my life as it currently is this what I want to be? Is this where I want to be? Is this kind of person I want to be? And, I really feel like I let a lot of people down in a lot of ways because, I get so many messages from people that are very friendly in nature, and whether they're asking for help with, what to do with ACR or what to do with poker, or just, a lot of things. I just feel, I guess I'm going through a time with that right now.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think it is most important to spend time on yourself, because like if you don't nurture your own life and your passions, then you don't really have the ability to help anybody else out. But beyond that, yeah, it can certainly be tricky. And, you get a lot more messages than I do, I'm sure, because you're out in, media much more than I am. But I do feel that's challenging at times. Like certain people just want your time. They want to be around you or have your ear for things. And sometimes it's just not practical that you can do that with everybody because there's just not enough hours in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to draw the line somewhere. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily the best person to advise you when it comes to this, but I do think that something that's helped me at times is like if you have a super objective, like an ultimate goal for a period of time in your life, and you're deciding whether or not you should do something, you maybe would benefit from having to explain to yourself how that can benefit you more readily achieving your super objective. It's like if your super objective is to like get super healthy and go to the gym 7 days a week or whatever, and the proposition is, oh, should I go eat this like food that's going to throw off my diet and make me feel sick tomorrow? Well, then no, it's pretty obvious. But that's an extreme example, and most situations in life aren't that cut and dry.
Yeah, it sounds like establishing priorities and really coming up with some type of hierarchy for what those priorities are. And for myself, for example, if it's stay healthy, work out, wake up early, build a system, and that's my number one. And then hang out with friends is number three. Well, I can't be going out to the fucking nightclub till 4 a.m. You know what I'm saying? And then it throws you out, which is what happened the other day. And I go out, I want to spend time with friends and that are in town, they're only in town for a few days or whatever, and want to have a good time. And in my mind, that's also a priority too. But then it throws out the other priorities that I've been working very hard at now for multiple different weeks. So it's like, well, is that really worth it? And that's the question I'm trying to figure out is like, well, I want to spend time with my friends. What am I going to do? Well, probably do something else with them then. Well, if that's the most fun thing we can do together, these are kind of the questions I'm asking myself. And this is going to be a long summer. We're only on June 7th right now. It's only more people come to town, and the more temptation is all over the place. So it's something that I need to figure out ASAP because I feel the path I'm going down.
Yeah, but also the more experiences you have, again, the more clearly defined your preferences will be. But I can totally relate to what you're saying, where on the one hand, having that like rigidity with respect to your routine or your lifestyle is beneficial for achieving your goals, but are your goals in isolation going to be contributing to your happiness as much as they can? That's something I'm challenged by as well. It's like, oh, okay, I'm doing really well with X, Y, or Z in my life. And then, this other opportunity opens up where it's like, oh, this will throw off other things, but how do you decide when to pursue those other experiences? There's no easy answer. At least I haven't found that there is. I feel like you kind of just have to, feel it out. And sometimes it's going to be an obvious yes. Sometimes it's going to be an obvious no. But like most things, more often than not, it's somewhere in between.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to kind of make a judgment call in the moment.
I guess like on one hand, if you're a type of person, like I just try to make the best of whatever my situation is. So no matter what decision I make, I'm going to try to make the best of it. Mm-hmm. And I know it might set back some other goals and some other success measures or success points I have set out for myself mentally, but it is what it is. I take accountability for that. And I say, okay, well, let me make it work, whatever I did decide to do. And I think on one hand, that's positive, but on the other hand, that can be negative because then you can excuse yourself to do things sometimes, knowing that, well, I'll make the best of it no matter what.
Yes, that is certainly something that can happen. You like open the door for yourself to make slightly suboptimal decisions because you're like, oh, okay, I'll just justify this in some other way, and that's definitely not that helpful. Yeah, it's an interesting topic. It's definitely something I've thought a lot about. I kind of try to relate things to how I see life in a grander sense, because I think all things are, a micro of other macro things. I think life is like constantly changing and abstract, and there's, certain things that are regimented, like, the sun rises, the sun sets. And I guess I just try to accept that in my own life, there's going to be things that are very regimented or more regimented than other things, but not everything can be that way because life simply won't allow for that.
I have a donation on YouTube from David Hestrin for $20.20. First of all, David, thank you very much. He says, yo, Chewy, tell him about your vision improvement plans.
Yeah, so David's a guy I actually met when I was streaming, and I had seen his Twitter page just completely serendipitously some days or weeks previous, and he reached out to me and told me that he can like help people naturally improve their vision, and we got on a few calls together, and he's definitely got some interesting ideas, and yeah, he's been a fun guy to talk to. So I'm definitely curious to see where it takes me, and if I can get rid of these without getting surgery, that'd be pretty cool.
So wait, what's the plan?
The plan is just like, I mean, he would do a better job explaining it than I will, but generally his philosophy is that if you have poor vision, you have strain in your eye muscles, and if you can just relax and get your body to a more natural state, that you can alleviate much of that pre-existing condition. And by all accounts, from what he says, he was able to do this. He has pictures of his driver's license from, glasses to no glasses. And I'm, as previously discussed, you and I both, I guess, pretty open-minded. So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, no substantial gains thus far. I enjoy the practice, but I still definitely, at this moment in time, need glasses to function, at least while I'm driving. That's for sure.
So is this what's known as a holistic approach to bettering your eyesight?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say this would be very much holistic.
Fuck it, I'm in. Why not? Let's go for it. Try it out. It's worse it happens, right?
Yeah.
The eyes get worse? I don't think so.
Yeah, and he has a whole program. He has like different audio recordings and like an eye chart, so you can kind of track your progress. Like, oh, today I could read this line that I couldn't the previous day, or what have you.
He's like the Doug Polk of natural eyesight recovery.
Yeah, I think he is.
That's pretty great. That's awesome. Hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, man. I mean, I don't. Luckily, I've never struggled with any eye ailments, so I don't know how. I mean, I'd be interested to kind of see exactly what the plan is, or like what he has you doing. And that sounds kind of fascinating, right there.
Yeah. I agree. It's fascinating. I mean, as I explained, it is pretty much what I do. Just relax, release tension, try to restore the body's natural state.
So it's basically like meditation in a way. It sounds like.
Yeah, definitely meditative in nature, I would say.
Interesting. We have let me comment. I disagree. I don't want to say that. Where's that one? No. Never mind.
It'll be interesting for me to go back and look at the comments or the chat.
Chewy, they're saying you met a fucking alien. What's going on here? You saw an alien? What
I did, yeah.
What do you mean you saw an alien?
Yeah.
Like a legal alien in the country, or like an actual extraterrestrial alien?
A legit gray alien. Yeah. So
hear it.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I watched a documentary earlier that day that talked about like, oh, like governments hiding secrets of, knowing about aliens and UFOs and stuff. So that night I was laying outside my backyard and I was just like looking up and I was like, man, I really want to see an alien or a UFO. This would be so sweet. Like, prove to me you're real. And nothing happened. So I went back inside and I was just getting ready to go to sleep. I lay down in my bed and as I was like dozing off, as I was relaxing, I wasn't quite falling asleep yet. I had my eyes open still, and I saw all these like concentric orange circles just appear throughout my entire plane of vision. And closing my eyes, I could still see them. It was very obscure, kind of hard to imagine, perhaps. But yeah, then this gray alien materialized, and it was just this same effect where closing my eyes, I could still see it, and it was all very opaque. It wasn't like these orange circles were blocking my ability to see beyond them. It was like they were there and also everything else was there. It felt very like interdimensional. And it was the same thing with the alien. It looked like, an ET type being and similarly opaque. And I just didn't really know what to do. I was pretty stoked, but it was also like, whoa, this thing happened. Like, what? Then I just went to sleep, and I haven't seen any aliens since.
Were you in a chemically enhanced state of mind?
I had consumed some cannabis earlier in the day, but I definitely wasn't like super high or tripping or anything when this happened.
People in the chat maybe say lucid dreaming.
Yeah, but I wasn't asleep yet. That's the thing.
Yeah, that is because I know when I have lucid, I'm usually like sleeping. That's where the dreams come in. And then when I wake up, the dream ends. And it's not where your eyes are open and you're experiencing this. And then you close your eyes. And because normally when you're on in a chemically enhanced state, for me, my eyes are open and my eyes are closed are two different states of mind. When my eyes are closed, I sort of like disappear off into this fantasy world. But when they're open, it's a much different perspective. So sometimes if I want to escape from the fantasy world, I'll open up my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it gets overwhelming. So you're like, I gotta get the fuck. I gotta get out of my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Let me make sure this is still a real place. So, do you plan to try to channel the alien again?
I have tried with no success thus far. Yeah.
Interesting.
I just assume if the time is right, it'll come back to me. But I don't know. Maybe I could have done a better job, like furthering communication when it happened.
That seems like an opportunity you want to take advantage of.
Yeah, it was the type of thing where it was just so unexpected and overwhelming, even though it was what I was kind of asking for, that I froze up. I was just like, whoa, this is crazy.
That's intense.
Yeah.
I hope I see one. That sounds pretty awesome, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty confident that in the not so distant future, it'll be more of like a publicly discussed thing. It just seems like it kind of has to be.
It's a pretty taboo topic now. When you start getting on aliens and things you're seeing in your mind, you normally sound like a crazy person. The majority of the public who's been programmed to think one way about things. So, and also I think that we associate those type of statements with more mentally disturbed people who have some sort of mental illness. So I think that if people do have that experiences, there's some sort of fear of what the reaction is going to be and being labeled a certain type of way and thought of a certain type of way by their peers or the public. So I feel like that's probably why people wouldn't come out and choose to say things like that. But as more and more people do come out and say that, I think that it may become more of a publicly accepted thing, and then we'll hear more people talking about it.
Yeah, I guess I don't really care too much what people think about me, so I'm happy to share my experiences when they're truthful, which, yeah, this thing happened.
Yeah, if I saw an alien, I'm definitely telling the story. I already know I'm a little fucking nuts. So I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna be surprised if I start talking about seeing aliens. How good was the alien at PLO? Was the alien a bot on ACR? Is a good question.
Honestly, I think it would have wrecked all of us at PLO.
It's probably the best PLO player in existence, man. What are you talking about? He's a fucking alien. Come on.
Telepathic.
The guy would know what we're thinking. Like he'd come on. The alien would destroy us. He'd be one of the top winners at the game, I think. I believe that. Monkey Nuts with the donation on YouTube. I like your hair, Monkey Nuts. $1.99. Looks like you got a nice little jeans 89 sort of hairstyle going on there. So me and Chewy were giving hair tips to each other earlier today. I said, Chewy, you really got the hair dressed up for this one, bad boy. And he said, I don't know. I didn't do anything. I just, this is what it looks like all the time. So I said, okay.
Yeah, my hair does come out differently after I get out of the shower. I guess it depends like which way I rub the towel on my head. But I've literally never used product in my hair. Just never something I've done.
How does it look like that? I don't understand it. If you
I always tell
100% like there's product in your hair right now.
Yeah, I always tell the barber, I'm like, I just want it to look reasonable if I don't take a shower in the morning. Because sometimes I like get up and like go run an errand or something. I don't want to have my hair be so absurd.
You're a simple man, bro.
Try to be.
Simple man. Wake up. I just don't want it to look awful. Okay? Please do my hair so when I wake up, it just doesn't look bad. All right? You got a low barrier haircut person. Please make it happen.
Compared to my previous look, I think I'm actually due for a haircut again soon.
Can we talk about why you pivoted away from the previous look? Let me just remind people real quick here what Andrew, the previous dude, I told you, I'm telling you, when I was looking through photos today, I was taken aback as I peered over this. So here's Andrew before. I'm telling you, Johnny Christ. He's looking like little Johnny here. This is a good look. I'm telling you, bro. This is kind of swag right here. The hair's going on, looking like.
Yeah, at that point, it hadn't gotten too absurd. That was pretty legit.
Yeah. So why did we? Oh my God, who's that? Oh my God, who's this? Who's this little? Oh, what's up, little man?
That was a long time ago. That was
like my little brother in this one, man. God damn.
When would that have been?
This bro.
2008.
Is this you? This is you too. Wow.
2010.
Wow.
Yeah.
The many looks of a young LuckyChewy. I love it. Here we go. A little longer right here.
Yeah, that was approaching peak length.
Mm-hmm. You were actually dressed like Jesus in this one.
Yeah, that was pretty solid.
Okay, so what happened? Why'd we go away from that look?
I mean, I just eventually came to the conclusion that I was either gonna, keep this forever or eventually just get rid of it. And I was just like, okay, it was a fun experiment. It, kind of went along with a lot of the lifestyle choices that I was making, got really into yoga, mindfulness, meditation, all that stuff. And I was just like, okay, I'm ready to move on from this hairstyle. And obviously my beard was not well kept. So it felt really good to cut it all off. It was just really interesting.
What'd you think? I mean, come on. I don't know what I would think if I'm so used to having that beard and the long hair, and then I just went back to the boyish young man you are right now with this look going on here. I mean, that's a pretty drastic change.
Yeah, it definitely is. But like I said, I mean, it was either, okay, I'm going to continue this or I'm not. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to like trim my beard. I guess I could have done that. There's nothing preventing me, but it just didn't feel as good as just saying, okay, let's get rid of it and, see what other experiences I'll have. A lot of people, pretty much the overwhelming majority of people were like, wow, you look so much better, with a shaved face and shorter hair. And I would tend to agree.
Yeah, maybe by traditional standards of what people expect people to look like. But I think that a large majority of the population who enjoys that kind of look would like that look too. I just don't think they're at a poker table anytime soon. So
yeah,
you got to go into the mountains of I'm trying to think of like a random state, but nothing's coming to mind. You have to go into the mountains to meet people that maybe carry the same approach to life and the same look and the same style.
Perhaps, yeah, I could see that being the case.
Joey had long hair before. That's true. I did have long hair before. That's a really good point. Let me get some questions from the chat here. Landon earlier said, "Did Chewy have any poker dreams?" Is that what the question was, Landon? Let me find the question from Landon real quick. Ask LuckyChewy if he's had any poker dreams that he remembers.
Dreams as in when I'm asleep, or dreams as in like goals?
I was assuming goals, but maybe it's dreams. But okay, goals, correct. Let's do goals.
Goals. So I recall at some point in my childhood, my mother and I went to a pizza place, and I wanted to get a Coca-Cola, and she was like, "No, it's too expensive. We have Coca-Cola at home." And I very distinctly remember feeling trapped that I couldn't get the Coca-Cola I wanted, and I just wanted to become financially independent. So that was kind of like the first catalyst towards me, when I found poker, pursuing it, because I was like, oh, this is a good way to achieve financial freedom. So I guess just the ability to kind of like dictate the course of my life by virtue of my own choices was definitely very appealing. When I got into poker, I don't know that I specifically had any dreams or aspirations of like being the best or like winning a bracelet or doing any of that stuff. It was more just I was really happy to have been, I guess, succeeding in a general sense. And at this point, yeah, I'm just really grateful that I did find the game and that's given me all it's given me.
Do you still have a dream for poker related dream?
I would like to leave the industry a better place than I found it, I guess. You do a good job of that. I could stand to do a better job. I did start doing some Twitch streaming, which was fun. I would like to get back in there and do more of that. Teaching and sharing and knowledge and wisdom is fun. I do still have this project with the poker site in India. It's kind of unsure of where exactly it all stands right now, but at some point we will be operating, and that will be nice. So, yeah, I guess I would just like to, leave it better than I found it.
Kind of a follow-up to that from their question from Poker Rookie said, what is your proudest poker achievement?
It's hard to say because like all achievements kind of link into one another. I mean, winning the Alpha 8 was a pretty special moment. It was kind of like right after I, started to grow out my hair and beard and just started to make some of those lifestyle changes. So although they weren't entirely to thank for my success, it definitely felt good. So yeah, I mean, I guess I could say that. Obviously, winning a bracelet was cool. Yeah, I mean, just like every day being able to refine my skill set and like improve is really what I enjoy currently.
That makes sense. No. So I guess if you had to quantify, I guess it's always more of like a winning moment we had in our time or a memorable moment. I think most of us aspire or dream to win a World Series poker bracelet. Obviously, the Alpha 8 score that you had, was that the biggest score you've had, 1.7?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's always kind of a milestone kind of thing too. Something to remember anytime you win, anytime the first place prize, no matter, even though obviously we don't have all of ourselves in that situation. So we're not taking home 1.7, but still having that on the resume, I think is something to be proud of as well too. And it's a great question. What maybe is I think most for people would be a moment like that or a winning moment, or, maybe a proudest poker achievement for some might just be getting over that hump and finally conquering that mental hurdle that held you back from breaking through the current stake that you're trying to get past. That might be an achievement as well too. Or it could be a month, or it could be a time that you were really locked in, or it could be a time that you took somebody's fucking soul and destroyed them as well too. There's a lot of different things it could be.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. You're right. There's a lot of just like special moments and hands in isolation that come to mind. Like I'll share one. I made a bad river call. This was, I don't know, 8 years ago or something. And
okay, last time Chewy made a bad river call 8 years ago.
Not true, but it did happen 8 years ago also. And I remember after the hand just feeling really frustrated with like, wow, that was really stupid. Like I should have known, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And then I just felt like, you know what? It was this was like a very, very much a breakthrough, like milestone moment for me. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to accept that I played the hand incorrectly. And, maybe he could have had some bluffs, not beat myself up. And when I told myself that, I just felt this like wave of relief. and it was like all the negative emotions just were removed and lifted. And I was just like, wow, that was really profound. And yeah, that was a great breakthrough moment that taught me, something that is applicable to many things outside of poker,
Right.
through playing.
Yeah, I think if you could be mindful of that anytime you get into that feeling, that's very important to recovering from that mental state and getting back into a more positive state.
Yeah, and it's something that now, after so many iterations of having this same experience, it's become a bit more natural to do. But
Right, you
that
have to remind yourself every time you get there, you don't need to stop, pause, and say, okay, let's snap the fuck out of this state I'm in right now.
yeah, unless it is exacerbated and it's, really affecting you, then it's good to, take that break and a couple deep breaths or whatever. But yeah, that was definitely the first time, at least that I can remember, that it was really obvious that I was, beating myself up, and there was an easy way to let it all go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I've been, I feel like, I don't know what's going on lately. I feel like I'm just learning so much about myself in this past, since I started doing the podcast again.
Nice.
Having like Garrett Adelstein on there, and he mentions very similar things about not beating yourself up, and you have the conscious choice to be happy or to get over it or to change the perspective. And he said closing the container and opening up a new container, and a lot of what he said and how he put it was really life-changing for me. And whenever I hear little things that reaffirm what he said, it starts to become more and more of who I am. And I think that's something that I'm very much working at right now, is just trying to be mindful in those moments that I get frustrated and lose my cool, which doesn't happen often anymore, but it certainly happened last night. And I was just not able to get out of it. And, it really sucks. And I was very hard on myself, and I'm still very hard on myself today. And I was feeling very down about myself today because I let that happen. I felt like I've done so much work to get over it. But once again, as you say, you have to be mindful of it and say, okay, well, you're going to fail. You're going to fuck up. It happens.
Yeah.
Now let's try to learn from it and move ahead, get over it. Okay, it is what it is. It happened, but let's move past it. And that's, I think that's something I still need reminding of sometimes too. So I'm very happy you said that.
Cool, man. Yeah. Something I think is really special about life in general is that you're never you never pass the point of needing to employ those basic principles that give you success. It's not like you achieve so much success that you can just discard everything. Life will always continue to humble you. And I think that's a really great thing, because it always encourages you to be your best. So it's a kind of a great opportunity.
Is there like a scientific thing behind, I'm assuming there's something, but why we must strive to be our best in what we do and in all areas that we do?
I think just because we don't feel good if we don't. There's a part of us that knows on a deeper level, whether it's, a soul or a higher mind or just our heart, that we could be doing more to be more of ourselves. I feel like that eats away at us when we don't activate our true potential.
Yeah, I always hear, the discussion being done about the idea of contentment and the idea of appreciation for the present and appreciation for the work that you put in and the success or the lack of success or whatever it is that you put in or the effort you put in. And I've been trying to not look ahead as much and sort of always look, okay, well, what's next? How can I get better? How can I get better? What's next? Because that's how I was for a lot of years. And I'm trying to be more mindful of the present and the past as well, too. But I have found that that's now impacted my desire to be better at a lot of different things. So it's like this really weird state now where I'm like, well, I don't necessarily like this as much as I did when I tried to get better at things, but is choosing to be better at everything that we do the only way to go upon doing it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't think it's important with everything. Or I mean, I guess it's less important with some things than others. Like, obviously, if you're in a relationship, you should strive to be a good partner. If you have a career path, you should strive to improve upon that. Obviously with your goals, but I don't know that it is necessarily so important with absolutely everything. Because again, like, to go back to what we were talking about earlier, the more that you really hunker down and focus on certain aspects of your life, that might impede progress in other areas of your life.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So like there's certain things that I'm not that good at. There's so many examples. I don't get the mail as often as I would like to. How's that? So I could do better at that. I could like set alarms on my phone and, okay, go check the mailbox. Like the mailman probably came. But that's just not a priority for me. Like I'd rather focus on improving my poker game, being a better partner, being a better friend, being a better brother, being a better son. Like I'd rather just be a better person in general. And this is kind of an arbitrary example, grabbing mail or whatever, but I don't know, that's kind of how I look at it. Some things just, yeah, like you said earlier, they're just not priorities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it's kind of coming to the realization that we do only have so much energy to dedicate to some things. And if we're trying to get better at everything, we are probably not going to get better at what our main priorities are, which kind of go once again back to the idea of organizing the priorities, whether it's on a pen or on the notebook or in your mind or on all three places. And once you have those priorities organized, you can defer back to them when you're sort of debating what you should be doing or what you should be spending time on, and accepting to yourself that I'm not going to be able to be better at things. I'm going to struggle at some things, and sometimes they might be important things as well too. But with that struggle in those areas will come greater success in the things that you want to do the most.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll surprise yourself, and as a byproduct of your success with the things that really do matter to you, the things that didn't matter as much will improve as well.
I wonder that. I did not notice that in the past for me. I mean, I guess they have sort of naturally, the areas I think about are planning and organizing and cleaning, which I've never been good at. So I found ways to excel without them, which is more just hard work and less efficiency, more just quality of hours or quantity of hours rather.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been something I wanted to work at, but sometimes I go through periods where I just accept that I struggle with it. And
yeah, I think that's, at least a healthy way to deal with not beating yourself up over not reaching your goal.
Mm-hmm. Daniel, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I like cleaning in some capacity. I don't always enjoy it. But like say there's a bunch of dirty dishes in the sink. It does give me a sense of relief where I feel like when I do that, I'm just like, I'm investing in my own success. I now have cleaner space in my life, and it's just generally going to improve, at least my ability to make my next meal, or just feel better because there's not clutter around. I sometimes I'll focus on the emotions that I feel after completing a certain task in the past when I'm debating whether or not to do that task in the present. So like going to the gym is a great example. If I ever feel unsure, I'm like, oh, I always feel great after I go to the gym. So I just do it, and then it just works out.
Kind of goes back to the idea of being mindful in those moments and really paying attention to how it makes you feel, and then also being able to be mindful in the present when you're debating doing that moment, or you're debating doing different activities, in terms of how those will then feel too, and what the alternative might feel compared to that as well.
Yeah.
So kind of once again tracing back to the idea of being mindful, which we can trace back to social media impacting the ability to be mindfulness, because we're so focused on what else is out there and what's going to be next that it's very hard to turn that switch on and off on a repetitive basis when we consistently go to that social media throughout the day.
Yeah. Another kind of philosophy that somewhat aligns with this, or at least you made me think of it when you were just speaking, is doing things for their own sake. Like I'm kind of a big believer in taking action, not because you want to get something out of it per se, but because that is like the most fulfilling and enjoyable thing for you to do in that moment. And it's easy to kind of conflate that idea with short-term gratification, but that's not how I intend to mean it. But yeah, like I think going to the gym should be done because you enjoy the process. Doing the dishes should be done because you enjoy that process of, to me, it's like very metaphorical. It's like, oh, I'm cleaning out gunk, and like I'm renewing. It's almost like sleep or relaxation in some sense.
Yeah, if you can change your perspective on the purpose behind what you're doing, whatever it is, and you can tie it into the bigger picture, and you can mentally accept that it's going to benefit you in multiple areas of your life. And while it might just seem on the surface that you're cleaning dishes, but in the grander scheme of things, you're actually being disciplined to yourself and sticking to what you believe in and finding these ways to build up this positive momentum that might carry into other areas of your life. And if you can get yourself to feel that way about things that you might not want to do as well too, and sort of find the beauty in the process of achieving them and the beauty in the challenge of trying to achieve those things, then maybe, I don't know if that's a place we should strive for or not.
Yeah. I would say for me, yes, but maybe not for everyone. But I also feel that with things like doing dishes or showering or things that are kind of like, they're straightforward, you've done them a bunch of times. I tend to get like really great inspired ideas in those moments because your mind is kind of at ease. It's almost like a little bit on autopilot, and it's just like, you're just letting new ideas creep in. I think that's pretty cool.
I think that's more flow kind of state, right? When you're in the shower, when you're driving, or for me, it was when I was playing basketball. You're kind of, I don't know. I've written it down a number of times, but I couldn't articulate it in a manner that's easily understood. But you're just really, I guess it was the idea that you're so locked in at what you're doing that it allows your, like, how does, I guess I don't understand how when we're in the shower, how we can have these creative ideas that we wouldn't come up with had we not been in the shower.
Yeah, I don't actually know any science behind it, but just off the top of my head, I would guess it has to do with, being really comfortable, being somewhat vulnerable, somewhat open, just generally being in a receptive state.
People say alpha brain state. I need to research this a little further.
Oh, I will say something about alpha brain.
Okay.
I ordered an Onnit product like a month ago. And at the checkout, they're like, "Oh, do you want this alpha brain?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll try it." It was like $10 per bottle. I hadn't taken it in a long time, and I took it. And the first night I took it, I had the most outrageously vivid dream. It was absurd. I could probably remember what exactly the dream was. Okay, I do remember.
Okay.
I was partying at like a house in Chicago. And there were some poker players there, and there was a kid I went to high school with, and it was just really good vibes, the whole dream, and it was so vivid. And I've taken it since then, and I took it the next day, I think, and I didn't have an experience like that. But yeah, it was interesting. I was just like, wow, I'm blown away by how insanely effective this was at increasing my dream potency. But yeah, alpha brain is also meant to, I guess, help in waking life. I need to experiment more with it, but I felt compelled to share that.
Interesting. I know Joe Rogan is a part owner, I believe now, of Onnit products as well too. So he's always pushing Alpha Brain and pushing other various Onnit products. So maybe it's worth trying.
Yeah, they actually had a booth at World Series like some years ago.
That's a great product to have at the World Series.
Yeah, they had like a wear a patch in the main event. Last longer. If you last longest, you get some free products or money or something.
That's pretty cool. That's actually not a bad promotion right there.
Yeah. I mean, Rogan's partner, I guess, Aubrey, I like his podcast and his stuff. I think he's a cool dude and has good ideas to share.
Yeah, I've only listened to him one time. I mean, I feel like a lot of the guys, they just kind of regurgitate the same information on a repetitive basis. And some of them, I guess, like they all sound to some varying degree of authenticity, and unless you know them or have an experience with them or have history with them, you don't really know for sure exactly where they're coming from or if they're just sort of saying this or if they actually believe it or not. But I just remember hearing him speak, I think once or twice, and I was just kind of put off by what I heard. So I was like,
yeah, no, I could understand that for sure.
Yeah. Let's get some questions from the chat here, guys. I'm trying to keep this like 2 hours. We'll go like 2:15 here. I'm trying to get away from the 3 hours pods for a bit. Try the 2, see if that works. See if people like them or not. And we'll see from there. Gaynor Nelson says, "Have I missed the shout outs? Maybe Chewy has some peeps he wants to shout out. Maybe his alien homies." That's a very good question, Gaynor. Chewy, any shout outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, let's give a shout out to that gray alien. What's up, bro? I know you're listening. Stop back anytime. I'm more prepared now than I was then.
Shout out to the alien.
Let's give a shout out to Dan Smith for
the king.
Yeah, for inspiring me to play that tournament. Who else should I shout out? I'll shout out my parents. It's a good shout out. And I'll shout out my brother.
How's your brother doing, man?
He's doing pretty good.
Yeah? How's poker? Is poker going okay for him?
Yeah, it's going reasonable. I wouldn't say it's going amazingly, but it's reasonable.
What area do you think he might need to get better at that would impact his win rate?
Probably just discipline.
Yeah.
Maybe some harder work ethic and I guess just more studying probably. I think he's just like a few degrees out of alignment with developing a strategy that'll really work for him. But I think by and large he's excelled quite a bit in the last few years, and yeah, I think he just needs to keep at it.
Yeah. I can see him getting a little distracted as well too with other things in his life, and maybe not have that strong desire to keep grinding every day poker, studying poker, just kind of wants to do other things and has other interests with his life.
Yeah, which is understandable.
For sure, 100%. Okay, yeah, I completely agree. It turns out not everybody wants to just sit there and grind poker all day and study poker all day. That's certainly going to happen, and I can understand that.
Yeah.
People want to ask about 2 months, 2 million. Beast 97. Ask him about 2 months, 2 million if he still talks to the guys.
Yeah, I do. None of them live in Vegas, so I don't see them regularly. I'm probably closest with Donnie. And yeah, I mean, I still do talk to them and see them periodically. Is that the question?
Yeah, I think so. Ask him about 2 months, 2 million if he still talks to them. Yes. That was the question, I believe. Someone said there's a very weird guy in the chat named Jimmy's Kicks who said I look like a magician. So I don't know what this guy's talking about. I know he's got a yellow shirt on his avatar, and anyone that has a yellow shirt in their avatar is usually kind of fucking weird, which means that they're my kind of guy. And now he just asked me to show a card trick, which this is now one of the weirdest people I've met in the chat today. So I appreciate you, Jimmy Kicks, for being here. Thank you very much. I'd like to give a special shout out to you, Jimmy.
I think that's a compliment.
Did I look like a magician?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. You have like some mischief about you, but you're also capable of wowing a lot of people. I don't know. I think that's cool.
Huh. I don't think he's using it to mean a compliment, though.
Oh. Well, in that case, then not very nice.
Yeah, that's okay. I think he's trying to. I had a very weird way to try to demean someone and call him a magician. But it was the first time I've ever been called a magician before. So I'm gonna take it, baby. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Watch me make the salt shaker disappear. Ah, Papi, you know what it is. Maybe I do a magic trick. After every magic trick, I just say Papi and then do something like that. Now you see it. Now you don't. But bam, I like it, man. Shout out to Jimmy Kicks. Much love, Poppy. Let me give a couple of shout outs, man. Who we got out there in the chat? We got my boy Travis Torelli, as always, in the chat. What's up, Travis? What's happening, brother? What's going on? I saw my boy Jonathan Angel in the chat earlier as well, too. What's up, John? What's going on, man? How's it going, man? I always appreciate the comments, appreciate everything out there. My boy Coop, I think I saw my boy Coop in the chat as well, too. Damon Santor, what's up, Damon? What's happening, man? Jordan Vargas, Justin Saliba. We saw Sasha out there, of course. We saw Jana Dor Papi. What's up, buddy? How's it going, man? Vidrin out there in the chat, always doing some great graphic design work, making all the great stuff out there at Overlays and also in the graphic design streets for many different people out there. Vidrin's work is definitely inspiring to me, and I probably should spend more time trying to replicate it and try to do more nice little graphic announcements like Vidrin puts together. So he's doing a lot of great work, man. James Grimaldi, my man Grimstar, in the chat. Sheffield 16, chokeslam that like button. Listen, guys, if you enjoy the podcast and you enjoy listening to these, feel free to smash that like button, Angleshoot that like button, and
whatever you got to do to get that like button, suppress that button. Like you're Jeff Hardy, running a Swanton bomb with the Dudley Boys, WrestleMania 1990. That is going down.
Pretend you're Hulk Hogan circa 1987 WrestleMania. You just walked in the ring against the Ultimate Warrior and you step into the ring. The like button is your shirt. Rip that fucking shirt open right now, okay? Come on. I am a real American. Come on, let's go. Let's go. If you're a real American, smash that like button, all right? Shout Hulk Hogan 1987. Shout did you say Jeff Hardy 1990?
Jeff Hardy, I don't know if it was 1990, but yeah.
It's not 1990. What are you talking? No, I don't think no.
2000?
Who are you thinking of that guy, Marty Jannetty, I think.
Nah, dude, the Hardy Brothers?
That's not I think they're like 2000s or something.
Okay.
1990. What are you talking about?
It was promotional. It wasn't super authentic in terms of the accuracy of the facts.
Were you watching wrestling in 1990?
Dude, I was 3 in 1990.
Were you watching wrestling in 1990? What do you mean?
I think they were around though.
I think I started watching wrestling in like 93 when I was what 7 or 8 years old. I used to watch wrestling all day. I loved it. It was wrestling, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball. That's all I did was just watch those sports. It
was super captivating when I was in middle school, I want to say.
I wonder why it was so I think I don't know why it was so captivating. I have no idea. I can't really say why.
A good show. Like they played up the characters' personalities, and yeah, I mean it was staged, but like that was not what the main like enjoyment factor was. It was a storyline. I think it was fun to follow that along.
Yeah, I don't know why it was. Couple more questions, guys. We'll wrap it up here. Jimmy Kicks, biggest poker loss.
I only had half the action, but in one day, I think I lost 350 online. That was pretty rough.
How much of a part of your roll was that?
I don't remember, but too much for sure. I was not a savvy bankroll manager back then.
You weren't rolled for 350K losing days, huh?
Nope.
Oh, really?
It was probably like a third or a quarter or something absurd.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
Dude, we were firing back in the day.
Jesus Christ. What?
Yeah.
What? What?
Yeah.
Bro, that's ridiculous. I mean, I'm obviously I've done it, 750 times, but still, that's whew, wow.
Yeah, I was shook. And then the next day, I won it all back and then some. So then it was like, okay, no big deal.
It's so weird how that works. It's like if we lose 15,000 a day before, we're gonna make 15,000 the day after, but we would normally make 5K. It's like if you don't lose 350 the day before, you're not gonna make back 350 the next day. You would have probably stopped at 100 or something like that, wherever your natural comfort zone for stop loss in terms of when you're winning would be.
Yeah, those psychological components to poker are fascinating, and I think I do, a better job now than I have at any other point in my career navigating them. But I don't know, the human element is still present when it comes to these emotional things. So I just do my best. But yeah, you're right, probably.
I mean, I've had my biggest losing day. I should do a video. I'm always scared to look through the hands again because I know I probably played some hands really awful. I think the most I lost was, I can't remember. I get them mixed up. Either won or lost. It was either 75 or 125. I don't know which one was the winning or losing. I think the losing was 125 and then the winning was 75. So it was 125 I lost in a day.
That's rough.
Yeah, it was rough for sure.
Not a whole lot else to say there.
It was definitely rough. But luckily it wasn't a third of my bankroll at the time. So that was good. It was. And then the next day I think I had the big winning day. So I almost made it all back. And I wasn't going to give up until I tried. So.
Well, it went back-to-back days for you too?
Yeah.
That's sick. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I don't want to think about those days anymore. Listen, that probably never going to happen again for me when it comes to poker. I'll never be.
Oh yeah. My perspective is so different now when it comes to like how much of my role I'm willing to put in play. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why that changes I guess maybe the commonality of the games when they run was a lot different before, and it was more of a realistic thing for you to get to that level, and sort of the disregard for the risk wasn't as high as it maybe is now for us, and probably a combination of different factors, the ease of games as well too, I'm sure, or just our general attitude about our own skill level, potentially kind of a bunch of different things mixed in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Thought. All right, one more quick question, guys. Give me one. Give me a piece of poker advice out there for the people, Andrew. If they're out there right now and they're watching this and they want to make $2 billion this month, what would you suggest for them?
What do I suggest for people as far as poker advice goes? I mean, this is kind of cliche, but just being honest about your skill level and being honest about the hands you play and being objective in the analysis of them. I also think that something I see a lot of like beginning, mid, or middling level players struggle with is bluffing efficiently. Like I feel like, I don't know, being able to determine which situations are effective to bluff in and which situations are ineffective is often going to be a major differentiating factor in your skill level. So I guess trying to identify like when and why you should bluff and with which hands you should choose to do so with is a worthy investment of time.
What about one piece life advice, Chewy?
You just have to follow your passion, follow your heart. Because like, I guess this goes back to what I was saying about doing things for their own sake. If you live your life doing things that you don't enjoy, trying to get somewhere that you will enjoy, you might do it, but you might not enjoy the process. And yeah, I mean that's how I've chosen to live my life, is just to enjoy the process and enjoy every day and do things that I love.
Sounds like it's going to be a big summer for Chewy. He's already starting off strong. If you want to follow along with Andrew on his summer adventures, you can follow him on Twitter at LuckyChewy, even though he couldn't even be I guess he did tweet up something about going deep in the tournament, but it was more of a thank you to Ben. You didn't even tweet it out there, did you? You didn't even take any credit.
I liked some tweets like that World Series put out and Poker Grow and stuff, but I don't know. I feel weird about like, hey, I'm at the final table of this tournament. Like, come check me out. It's like it's already plastered all over poker media Twitter. So I don't feel particularly compelled to like, I don't know.
Amen to that, buddy. I like it, man. All right, guys. If you want to check him out on Twitter, if you have any questions for Andrew, hit him up, give him a message. We'll be following along with him, of course. I appreciate you coming on. And maybe we can do some content together here in the near future that's non-podcast only. I got some ideas, actually, now that I thought about this more. Actually, I got some ideas.
I'm in.
I got some ideas. I just can't do this right now. I'm happy for myself. Guys in the chat, I appreciate y'all very much. My guy, Matt Waxman out there. What's up, brother?
Yeah, Wax in the chat. What's up, Wax?
What's up, Wax? Wax working on a big project right now. I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything about it or not, but I know Wax is working on a project right now, too. I'll be supporting the project as well.
Yeah.
We got the Sam Salvaro podcast tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Doug Polk, the Supreme Leader, going to be on next week, coming back on the show. We got my boy Dan Zach coming on podcast on Wednesday, one of the top poker players in the entire world. I'm very happy to say that. I think mixed game player, Nolan Home player, PLO player, the man does it all. I'm sure you've seen him in live at the bike. Just took down his first bracelet. Let's fucking go, baby. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. We got Dan Zach coming up. We got my boy All-American Dave on the podcast. Maybe we can set that up for next week too. Let's go, All-American fucking Dave, man. That guy is a World Series of Poker legend, provides service and value to people for fucking years. That guy I love that guy, and I'm very happy he's part of the World Series of Poker. So I met him the other day, first time I ever met him, Andrew. We talked on Twitter. I was like, one night I was kind of high or something. I was like, bro, I need All-American Dave on my fucking pod. I just have to have this guy on. I like love what he does. And I met him the other day, talked to him for a while. So we're gonna get this happen, make this setup.
Nice. That's awesome.
I'm excited for that, man. I'm kind of we got to stay on track this summer, buddy. I can't fall off the boat. I can't fall off the wagon. We got to stay up with the content, with the podcast, and get that stuff out there, man, because I think these are fun to do. I appreciate you coming on. You've greatly enhanced my mood and my spirit today. I was very, very down before the podcast happened. I knew talking with you, it would naturally make me feel better for a number of different reasons, and I'm happy to say it did do that. So I thank you very much for that, buddy.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Glad I could do so.
Guys in the chat, we're out of here. Let us know what you think below. Smash the like button. Give us a comment. Let us know. That's it. Peace out. Much love. Whoa, hit stop. Whoa, and go. Oh.